You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Oh, April. Always something going on in April. We always have what I call that April surprise, which people know as the October surprise when there is a general election. But there's also that April surprise when there is a May primary. And I sense that there will be an April surprise because there's been a lot of April surprises that have taken off. But I think there is a massive April surprise that is on the horizons in this political scene. And I'm going to leave it at that. But this month has been full of some interesting surprises. I just did an episode of On the Record with Ernest Owens, and I thought I knew how politics was going to play out. I thought I knew how this interview was going to play out, and then it took a wild turn. And that's why I always say, I got to wait to record once everything has digested, because just when you think you know, there's always some interesting twist and turn that reminds you to, oh, wait, there's more. And that is what happened on Sunday. So we're going to talk about that episode that got you all having a lot to say. It was a very interesting conversation that took place with Sierra McNeil and a special guest that took place on 96.1 FM, 900 AM, Progressive Black Talk Media, WRD Radio. I was not ready. We're going to talk more about that later on this show, but I just want to say I am flabbergasted on so many fronts. This entire weekend was a lot. But it also reminded me that, now I am done teaching for the spring semester at CCP. Commencement graduation is taking place next weekend, and that will wrap up the spring semester. But now that I am not teaching, I am now, for the rest of the spring. I do have some summer stuff going on, summer teaching and all that. But I got a nice little period of time to wrap up this book. I'm wrapping up the final section of my book. We're almost there. Can you believe it? People are saying that was fast. Yeah, but I've been out here. Okay, a lot of y'all like, oh, I don't see it that many things. I've been going to some things, but no, I've been deep into the writing of this book, and I'm in that sweet spot. I know how it's going to end, how it's going to conclude. There's been a lot of things in the news lately that has also kind of added to it. So I'm getting the book as current as it can be before it finally, does this big one. And I thought about that because the world keeps evolving and changing. And by the time this book comes out in fall 2027, there would have been so many other things, but you have to end it at some point. Like in the world of book writing, this reminded me of the case of cancel culture. I remember when I was working on it, I was like, I had just missed all of the drama that happened with Will Smith and the whole Chris Rock slap. But at some point, you just have to just trust and believe that, hey, your points are made, your arguments are made, and everything that comes afterwards is only going to just be more fodder, but you have to land. And so I realized that in the book world, if you're not writing a memoir or a personal biography, which even that can evolve and change, you have to you got to conclude it. And so as much as I've got as much relevant information as possible, I am going to include some discussion of the White House press correspondents' assassination attempt. That will be in the book. Cannot miss that because of the way the internet reacted to that and how that kind of plays into stan culture. But at a certain point, at the end of the day, they got to end. And so I cannot put as much, there's so many things, and you're like, okay, we're at the end. We no more examples. I gotta land this. But I think that this situation that just happened this weekend, I think that's it. I am not going to do anything else unless there is something massive. I gotta land this book. Because every time I think I know how I'm going to end it, I'm like, okay, we gotta land the plane here. So I'm at that final end. I'm at that sweet spot. This is great. This is fun. there's a lot there. And there's a lot there. This episode is going to un you know is going to do that. So yeah. So yeah, interviews are over. I've done all my interviews for this book. There were some people that I will say I got some big names that's going to be in this book. I gotta decipher through those interviews, of course. There's some people who I'm not even gonna say people. I'm gonna say there's one person that I thought was gonna be in this book, but you know, it is what it is. There is no hard feelings. Honestly, they don't want to say all that right now. It's too early. I'm very happy with the people I interviewed for this book that agreed to speak on record, that are going to be a part of the book. Those interviews were great. There's some new folk. There's some familiar voices. There's some people that you all are familiar with, and there's some people that are new. Some people from my last book. Some people that are part of the new book. All these different voices. That's going to make this a very thought-provoking book. I'm really happy how it's shaping up. My goal was to finish the book in April so that May, which is going to be starting next week, of course, is going to start to, because I have a deadline. My deadline is Memorial Day. I'm going to hit my deadline. I'm the deadline queen. Anybody who know me know that I'm all about deadlines. I honor my deadlines. I don't play any games. Okay, when I sign a contract, I sign a contract. Memorial Day is the deadline that I send in this manuscript over to my editors, and the process begins. But you gotta have a book. I'm proud to say that I got a book, ladies and gentlemen. We have a book. We have a book. I'm gonna wrap up this final chapter, and then after that, it'll be incorporating my interview throughout the book, and then also doing the bibliography, which is oftentimes one of the biggest chunks of the entire process, is like incorporating all of the, citations and references. This will not be as painful as the last time I did my book, because the last time I had to go back and find every single reference. This time around, each chapter, I kept all of my references, all of my citations, all my stuff. So pretty much I'm going to be plugging it in, doing all of that, the footnoting and all that stuff. But that feels better. But it's just, going back through the entire book, which is tons of pages. We're over 200 pages. This book is over 200 pages long, easily, over 200 pages. And yeah, it's going to be massive. I think 70,000 words the book is upwards of 70,000 words. And that's even before I've even included quotations and all the interview stuff. So, we have a book. Okay. We have a book, and it is here. I'm very excited about it. I got to finish it. I'm going to reserve some of my thoughts afterwards, but I'm at that sweet spot where I'm seeing something come together before my very eyes. If you would have talked to me about this January, I just was in a mindset of we got to get through. We got to get through. But we are at that sweet spot. So I'm feeling good about that for sure. So other things I did this week, Terra Grill. I finally had Terra Grill. I had a full course meal. As you all remember, I went a month ago to the media premiere, and I was liking some of the things I had, but I wanted to have a full course meal. I wanted to have the experience. I went with my good homegirl, Candace, who is an avid restaurateur who understands the scene. She's a restaurant connoisseur like myself. We went on several different spots and we've tried restaurants. This has been a great ongoing relationship because I need to go with people. And it's always great to go to Live Brothers, but it's always nice when I have an opportunity to go out with Candace. And we went to Terra Grill. Let's just start off with the first things. We liked it. We did. We get it. We enjoyed it. There is something for everyone to enjoy on this menu. It is a very thought out menu with a lot of different courses to choose from. There is something for everyone. Like I said before, is it the best steakhouse I've had in Philadelphia? No. Is it the worst? No. Is it mid? Absolutely not. It is a very good steakhouse in Philadelphia. And it's a great alternative. What we were really impressed with was the location. It is in that Fishtown, Northern Liberties area. Sin, which was Steak Italian Nightlife, as you all know, was a massive flop. It collapsed, it closed down. Even though I did enjoy certain things about Sin. The Lip Brothers, we appreciated aspects of Sin. We understood that it was very ambitious and it did take a big swing and there was a lot of things going on and it was mixed reviews, of course, but it ended up closing down. And I think part of the reason why is because it was doing a lot in that area. I think what I appreciate about Terra Grill is it's unapologetically a restaurant. It wants to be a restaurant. It wants to be a nice restaurant. It is very beautiful. It's a very beautiful restaurant. It has a great ambiance. It has a good mood. I think this is a great spot for people who are grown. Okay? I need a restaurant for grown-ups. There needs to be a restaurant for grown-ups. And what I mean by grown-ups is people over the age of 21, but not even just over the age of 21. People that are over the age of 25, but specifically people that are in a serious relationship or a sophisticated date. This is for grown-ups. The menu is unapologetically grown. What I mean by that is that they're not trying to be a spot for the youngins, the Gen Zers that are trying to try. No, 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 no. Like my younger brother is 23. I mean, could he go to a restaurant like this? Sure. I don't think he should be taking anyone on a first date here. This is not a first date spot for him and his crew, okay? This is a first date night for folks over the age of 30, okay? So if you're over 30 and you all are working professionals, you all have degrees, you all have a salary, okay? You're not living paycheck to paycheck, you have a salary. This is a place for that. Is the place expensive? I struggle with what expensive is nowadays, right? And I mean that, right? Like this is in the lock bar conversation. It's not Steak 48 expensive. It's around lock bar prices, which is reasonable. It's a reasonable price for what they're trying to serve. Their portion sizes are very good for what you pay for. That is important because me and Candace were talking about another restaurant, which we will not name. I will not name on this podcast, but definitely was different, skimping on the portion sizes, but yet the price was very different. This is not a tasting menu. This is a place that has some very major entrees. If you want a steak, the steak portion sizes here are generous, okay? Very generous. If you want what you want. What we did was I did a duck dish, which was phenomenal. She had a branzino, and we shared a filet mignon together, like a 10-ounce filet mignon, and that was solid. It was enough. The size, the dishes, the portions, baby, they do what they do. And I thought the prices were reasonable. There was nothing everything on the menu was around a nice, 30 to 50 something. The steaks were around the 50-ish range. If you got something a little bit more, it was a little bit higher, but everything was decent. You could really do something here. The cocktails were great. I thought the cocktail prices, they were good cocktails, a meaningful cost. I think they were around like the $14-16 range for a cocktail, which was fair in this day and age. But I thought it was a very fair priced restaurant. I think everything was either good or great. I didn't find anything to be awful. I didn't think anything was bad. I think everything was either good or great. The duck, great. The steak was good. I thought the steak was good. Very good steaks. The ones that we had. The filet mignon we had was good. The appetizers, some were good, some were better. I really think I love the Wagyu hot dog situation. I thought that was a very good appetizer. Again, the portion sizes was what I appreciated. Like it's a full-fledged Wagyu, very great toppings, great portion size. I thought that was really stellar. The yellow fish dish we had was good. The dessert, woo, great. That Sunday dessert that they have, that whatever that caramel toffee situation was one of the best desserts I've had this year. Loved that dessert. That dessert was great. That was a great dessert. That Sunday, a wonderful way to end that dinner. Definitely was incredible. Have no complaints about that. You know, it was just, yeah, that was a stellar dish. Like I said, cocktails are really good. I love the duck. I really love the duck dish. The branzino was good. The beet salad dessert was great. The tiramisu was good. I really love the sundae more than tiramisu. The tiramisu was good. The beet salad was great. I love their beet dish. The bayou bun situation was okay. Wasn't horrible. Was good. Wasn't my favorite thing. I've had better tartare, but also wasn't that memorable to me. Um, I'm talking about the bio buns. I'm sorry, the bio buns was what I'm talking about. The bio buns. The tartare was okay. The tartare was fine as well. That beet salad was great. The duck dish, great. I love a good duck dish. I love their spritzes. Their spritzes as cocktails are really good. The dessert was great. The steak was really, really good. But it was just an overall good restaurant. They're a big wood fired restaurant. And what I loved about that area is because that area has been trying to do everything to be a nightclub, or it tries to be a very bar centric type of vibe. Like if anybody go to Fishtown, Fishtown is one of the worst food areas in the city. One of the worst neighborhoods in the city. Not Fishtown, I'm sorry, Northern Liberties. My bad. Oops. I like Fishtown. Hold up. Pause. Not Fishtown. Northern Liberties. Northern Liberties. But see, there's this weird, like, blurry area between Fishtown and Northern Liberties, and that is the area I'm talking about. Where Terra Grill is at is in this weird, like, Fishtown, Northern Liberties border. And there's a border of crap. It's a lot of crap over there. Like, the restaurants over there, I don't even know if I should call them restaurants. It's a bunch of cheesy bars, a lot of New York-esque type of, spots, a lot of that crap. So it's just not good over there, right? But this place is an exception to that rule. You have a Michelin star chef in there. You have a fine establishment. This restaurant is trying to do fine dining. This restaurant is very intentional on what type of dishes they're trying to serve. They're doing something very different in that area. And honestly, I think it is the best new restaurant at least, but one of the better restaurants out of that entire group. So if anybody was to go to Northern Liberties and say, Ernest, where should I eat in Northern Liberties? I am going to tell you to go to Terra Grill because everything else is going to be mediocre, mid, basic. Just go get the drinks, just have an appetizer. But Terra Grill is probably one of the only restaurants in Northern Liberties that I can imagine and think of that I'm actually will say go there and have an actual dinner and go there for the meal. They now have brunch. I have not had brunch, but I would say this is probably one of the few restaurants in Northern Liberties that I would honestly say is worthy of eating. Now, Fishtown, I take that back because I had a slip. I didn't mean to say Fishtown because Fishtown clearly has a lot of hits. Okay, you got Kalea there, Kaluya, right? You have Kaluya. You have I keep saying Kalela, but you have Philadelphia Distilling. You have a lot of other great restaurants in Fishtown. You got LMNO, which I really like. There's a lot of great restaurants in Fishtown. So I let me just say, I didn't mean Fishtown. I meant Northern Liberties. And I think they're trying to figure out how they want to identify themselves because I've heard some people say Terra Grills in Fishtown, some people say Northern Liberties. I think they need to figure out where they want to plant themselves. But I think based on that area, and everybody knows that area, it's over there where all those new gentrifying buildings are at. It's over there by Bagels and Co., where Fago used to be. Fago is going now. Anejo, which is up and down all around. That whole area, I would say that's Northern Liberties, right? You got Set No Libs, which the fact that people call it No Libs, I hate that. But that restaurant called Set No Libs, which is like Set Northern Liberties, that bar, which is okay, but it's not like a restaurant, right? Everything's over there. A bunch of just a bunch of fluff. Just a bunch of fluff. There's a bunch of fluff. Like there's nothing there that is giving, oh my God, I need to go. There's just a bunch of makeshift bars, but no like stellar restaurants that make you have to go over. So I would say Terra Grill is an exception to that rule. They're really trying to do something different. The food was really good. And yeah. Speaking of places that are not good, even though this is an exception, there's a lot. There's a lot there. You know, I would say a lot of y'all been messaging me. Um, it was a lot. Marsha's. I've never talked about Marsha's because I knew Marsha's was a mess the moment it arrived on the scene. I have heard of issues about Marsha's for the past year. Quite frankly, I really don't get into the neighborhood politics like that as much anymore, as you all know. Um, I've really been just, yeah, yeah. I've just really have noticed a lot of shit going on over there, and yeah, I just, yeah, it's been a lot, and Marsha's is this lesbian-owned bar that is been getting a lot of criticism about accusation of anti-blackness. Black and trans employees working there have had issues. Some people have left. There's been, reveal of messages between the general manager and the staff, and there's been a lot of drama going on there. A lot of y'all have been messaging me about Martha's. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to keep it very cute. If I don't talk about a place, a restaurant, a bar that you all think that I would know about or talk about, it is for good reason. This is what happened with Chubby Chicks a couple years ago. Remember Chubby Chicks? I didn't speak on it. There are times where I know my power. I know the power of my platform. And I often know how bratty and bitchy people can be. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times when I do want to forewarn people of certain businesses, a lot of folks will whine and bitch and say, oh, you're tearing down a queer-owned spot. You're tearing down a woman-owned business, blah, 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 blah. And so you know what I've learned? I've just learned that, I'll let other people say it. If it is as bad as I know it is, eventually someone else will say it. And then you'll go, well, why you didn't warn us? Because you all fucking play identity politics too much. There's too much weaponizing of identity politics in this economy, in this world. It's too much. And I just want to say this. If you have to lean on your identity as the only justification for as to why people should support you, listen to you, buy from you, support you, or all other shit, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. I will tell you right now, I can stand toe to toe with anybody in this podcasting universe, in this political journalism universe, in this entertainment business, in this journalism business, without making you feel guilty or ashamed to support me simply because of my racial identity and my sexual orientation. At the end of the day, while those are attributes of my identity, that's who I am, that is not the only reason why people listen to Ernestly Speaking or any of the other programs I do. Because I have talent that is beyond just my identity alone. And I think the problem that we're having right now is that folks are demanding support simply based on identity. Last time I checked, I wanted equity. And equity meant that I should not be given a lack of support because of my identity, that I should have an equal playing field. All I've wanted is to have an equal playing field. I know what my talent is. I just want to be able to accurately and fairly compete. I don't need a leg up. I don't need a special freebie or a prize. I just want to be able to be given equal opportunity to compete. Because too often in this industry, Black queer people like myself are not even given the opportunity and access to compete. I'm dealing with a mayor who is anti-Black as fuck when it comes to giving me the opportunity to interview her. And she does that because she knows that society is not going to raise hell, because if I was a white man, right, this would be a different conversation. So I'm dealing with a Black woman who wants grace, right, because she's a Black woman, but does not give the same equal opportunity to Black journalists to fairly interview her. So I don't get a chance to interview the mayor as a Black journalist because of the fact that she has an expectation upon me to give her an unfair, biased interview because I'm Black. Because the only serious interviews that she do is with white reporters, because she assumes that because we're in this racial community together, that means that I cannot do my job and hold her accountable, because to do so, she takes more personal than if I was a white reporter. So I'm dealing with the level of anti-Blackness and unfairness because of that, right? I've never asked for anything that is not fair. I just want a fair chance. That's all I've ever asked for. I don't need any VIP. I don't need no extras when it comes to doing my job. I just want a press patch, which I got. I just want an opportunity to sit in the room and do my work. That's all I want to do. I don't need anything else because I got talent. Okay, I don't need no one to juice up my numbers. I don't need anyone to lie, to steal or cheat from me. I don't need any of that. My work speaks for itself. I just want an equal opportunity to do the damn work. Okay, that's it. I don't need anyone to give me anything else but an equal opportunity to showcase my talent and do the damn thing. That's all I want. I thought that that's what we all wanted as Black and brown people. I thought that's what we wanted, queer folks. I just thought that we all have talent and we just want to have an equal opportunity to showcase our talent. I didn't know that you thought that you could be mediocre as fuck and still be given your roses. I thought you had to earn those things. See, we're not the same. I am willing to earn my keeps. Okay? I've been in the game for over 10 years. I earn my shit. No one's giving me a goddamn thing. Okay? I did not get to the University of Pennsylvania by simply coming from money. I didn't come from money. I got a full ride scholarship. I bust my ass. I studied. I got my grades. I earned my degree. I graduated on time. I did what I need to do. I don't need any handouts or any freebies. I just need an equal opportunity. If you give Black and brown people an opportunity that is fair to their white counterparts, they will do the rest. And you know what's crazy? I've done that in spite of that. I've had to work 3 times as hard as a millennial, as a Black man, as a queer person. I've had to do it all and still get to this point. So I don't need freebies. And I think the frustrating part for me is that there's a lot of mediocre ass people in our community that's expecting to automatically get praise when their shit's not together. And even when they're being called in by people that look like them that's in community, we're told, oh, you're a hater. Oh, you're this, you're that. I'm trying to show you how to do what you need to do to get your shit together. But no one wants to hear that anymore because everybody just feels entitled based on their identity. And so Marsha's been a problem. Marsha's was a problem the moment it got its shit together. I knew of issues then. And there were conversations. People did try to help them. People did try to tell them. But they didn't care because they were riding off the coattails of using their identity as their appeal. And I always say, if you're using your identity as the only appeal to your business, that's a flop waiting to happen. If I ran around saying, listen to Ernestly speaking because I'm Black and I'm queer and I'm a Black queer person with a podcast, if that was the only thing I was selling, this show would flop. But people listen to this podcast because it's informative. They know I do my research. They know that I am actually busting my ass and doing what needs to be done. They tell the stories of the day. And it doesn't matter. I get listeners that listen to this show regardless of their backgrounds. I got conservatives that listen to this show. I have people twice my age listen to this show. I have white people listening. I have trans people. I have folks that's not even from Philadelphia. They just want to know about what's going on in Philly that listens to this show. This show brings people together because it's the talent that gets people there. But I just needed a platform. I just need an opportunity to do my damn thing. That's all I want. I'm dealing with so many gatekeepers, white supremacists, bigots that don't want me to just have an equal footing. I don't need anything else. Just let me come in the room and do my thing, and I'm going to make it happen. What I'm dealing with in this industry is mediocrity. People who just say, well, you're Black and gay, I'm Black and gay, so why am I not where you're at? Well, excuse me, there's a thing called work. Are you working hard? Are you standing on business? Do you have your shit together? Do you have integrity? Don't look at what the hell I'm doing if you're not trying to put in that work. I am all about helping people do the damn thing, but I'm not giving no one any freebies. It's all about work. Listen, Oprah, many, many years ago, gave me some wisdom about work, and she's been a mentor. And she's been somebody who has instilled some wisdom to me. But the way in which I need to get to where I need to get to in my career, it would have not happened if I did not put in the work. And so all I'm saying is to people is that if you're leaning on your identity alone and you're not putting in the work and you're not holding yourself accountable, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. I want to see my people win. I do. I'm rooting for everybody Black that is trying to actually know how to act. I want to see everybody win. I would love to see Black queer people win. I do. I really do. But if you're not putting in the work, if you're not standing on business, if you're being dishonest, if you're being cruel, then no, actually, I can't support what you got going on. I can't. Because what are we doing here? So I just want to reset the room because it's been so many people touting their identity. Like, baby, we could all play that game. But I choose to hold myself to a different standard. It's not enough just to simply say I'm Black and queer. Let me scam you. No, absolutely no. I don't want any scammer, whether they white, blue, purple, Asian, trans, non-binary. I don't want any scammer. Let me be very clear. I don't want any liar. I don't want any oppressor. I don't care if the oppressor is a Black woman with pink handcuffs. I don't care. Like, I just think, I don't know. I just think people then lost their mind right now because people are acting like the goal was to diversify our oppression. I'm sorry. I'm confused. So you mean to tell me that you just wanted to have the same world, except you just wanted Black people doing it. So you wanted Black folks to just tax you without no actual representation. You just wanted a Black person to basically come down on the law harder on its own community. You just wanted a Blackface doing it. You actually wasn't trying to hold a standard. You just said, as long as the person Black, I don't care. I'm sorry, that's not my belief system. But some of y'all, that's y'all belief system. It's like, oh, I want a shitty mayor, but just make the shitty mayor a Black woman. Like, if the shitty mayor is a Black woman, I'm okay with that because we've had plenty of shitty white men. So let's have a shitty Black person. That's the standard for y'all, right? Oh, well, I don't mind if my pop artist is an abusive man. He's a Black abusive man, but he's Black, so it's okay because Elvis did it. So if Elvis did it, it's okay that, Chris Brown did it. Because Chris Brown is Black. That's how y'all sound. That's exactly how you all sound. Oh, well, I mean, Diddy, yeah, but Epstein. Okay, so you just want a Black Epstein. It's okay. You just want it to be, Harvey Weinstein. Oh, okay, so you just want it to be Black. You're not upset about what they're doing. You're just saying as long as it's Black, I'm okay with it. That's how y'all sound. That's not how I work. That's not my belief system. I don't care about the identity. I care about the crime. I care about the harm. I care about the abuse. I thought that's what we were supposed to be as a people. I wasn't going to stand beside anybody, regardless of their identity. But I guess we have conflated that demanding equity and equality for Black and brown folks and queer folks. Y'all thought that also meant equality and equal opportunity for oppression as well. So, we also need to hold space for Black queer oppressors? Is that what it is? I don't know the logic. I just don't get the logic. But back to Marsha's. Not a fan. Was never a fan. Have heard things for a while. Never promoted it. Never told people to support it. I believe the workers. I stand in solidarity with the workers. I'm not going there. Never been. Won't go. That's it. That's it. There's plenty of other places to go. Y'all want to find community so bad that it will kill you. Like, I'm not going to be in community with people that are harmful. That bar is trash. And that's just how I feel about it. And that's what I got to say about it. So now, if you wanted to know how I thought about Marsha's, that's what I feel. I believe those workers. I have had people sending me stuff for months. And a lot of stuff was loose, right? Messages here, stories here, accusations here. And quite frankly, my mindset was, I know how this goes. If I say something about it publicly, everyone's going to go, you're attacking a woman owned of color bar. What about the white bars? As if I did not blow the casket on Gabriel racism 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I had told y'all about Woody's. 10 years ago, I told y'all about eye candy. I told y'all about, I don't even know if Taboo not even open anymore. I told you about all those bars 10 years ago. You can Google it. I've been talked about these bars. I don't go to the neighborhood. Fun fact, I don't go to the neighborhood. I go to Midtown Village where the restaurants are at, but I don't go to these bars. I don't go to these clubs. I don't. One of my friends was like, I'm going to Woody's. I said, have a good time. I'm not going. I don't need to go. No. So are we all clear here? We cool? We all got it now? We all get it? So none of the bars do it for me. None of those bars do it for me. For me. For you, maybe differently. But that's just, I'm not wasting my time. And that brings me to another conversation. Roxanne. So there's news that Roxanne has been shut down. This is this avant-garde restaurant that got a Michelin recognition. It didn't get a Michelin star, but it got recognized by Michelin recently. It's gotten on a bunch of best restaurant lists, lots of buzz, lots of people have talked about it. It's hard to get to. It was a hard to get into restaurant, very weird, got major feature stories. Well, here's a big problem. Roxanne had a licensing issue. They didn't have all their paperwork and stuff cleared away. You know, and yeah, I'm confused. I'm like, all these years, Roxanne has been in existence, and there's been issues with its licensing, like its ability to run its business. I was like, wait, I'm confused. How did this happen? How did no one not know what was going on with this restaurant? But people were talking about it. People were saying, hey, I said if this was a Black-owned restaurant, we wouldn't be having the same conversation at all. Like, Roxanne got shut down by the city over licensing issues. It has been operating without a license to prepare or serve food since it opened. And I'm confused because they've been around for a minute. They were on 607 South 2nd Street. And the license, L&I basically ordered them with, this supper club to cease their operations for failing to obtain a food license. And they've been around for a minute, since December 2024. It never received a health inspection in the 14 months since it's operated. How, Sway? How? How did that happen? So I'm just really disgusted by that because it just shows a double standard. So this restaurant has been operating this entire time without a license. Food could have been at risk. People could have been all kind of shit. And yet, while it was having all of this, it was getting recognized by Michelin. People were going. Nobody stopped it. Like, what the fuck? They've been operating like that. That is terrible. That is terrible. So people said that apparently the owner said they were blindsided by the cease operations notice, which came more than a month after the restaurant closed. They said the restaurant has always had the appropriate licenses to operate. That's what they're claiming. They declined repeated requests for documentation of those pieces of paper. And the chef, Alexandra Holt, said, I, quote, have 2 pieces of paper hanging on the wall, well, 3. But she declined repeated requests for documentation of those pieces of paper. Listen, all I'm going to say is, if this was a Black-owned restaurant in Philadelphia, it would never went down this long. That's just my take. Take it or leave it. Just saying. So then that brings me on. I want to talk about Shucked, the musical. I went to see it. It is running right now till early May. It is the Forest Theater. It's but Ensemble Arts. I saw My Bestie Jamarcus this past week. I loved it. It's a brand new musical. It's country. It's funny. It is a comedy. It is actually funny. It's a funny musical. It's only been out on Broadway. It's on a national tour right now, but it's only been out for about a couple of years, like a handful. It's a fairly new musical. I didn't know what to expect when I went to go see it, but I was deeply amazed. It was hilarious. It was very thought provoking, very funny, very modern, but just a very good musical. I can understand the hype when it went to Broadway. It won some Tonys, and it was a big deal when it first landed, and I was very impressed with the whole hype around it. It came out in 2022. So yeah, it's been around for a couple years. It did really well. It got 9 nominations at the 76 Tony Awards. It was nominated for Best Musical. Alex Newell became one of the first two openly non-binary performers to be nominated for and win a Tony, and they won for Best Featured Actor in a Musical. There is a potential a feature film adaptation currently planned. So they're going to try to turn this into a film, which is exciting. But yeah, I was very impressed with this. It only won one Tony Award. Alex Newell they won Best Featured Actor in a Musical. They only won one. But there was a lot of buzz about this performance. Very much a lot of buzz about this performance. Got a lot of Tony nominations: Best Musical, Best Book of a Musical, Best Original Score, Best Direction of a Musical, Best Featured Actor in a Musical. Two actors was nominated. Best Scenic Design of a Musical, Best Sound Design, and Best Orchestrations. So it did really well as far as nominations go that year. But yeah, it was 2022. And for those who want to know what was the big musical that won and swept the show, it was A Strange Loop. That was the musical that swept. And then MJ, the musical, was also nominated. For those who remember that musical, MJ the musical was also nominated, which we're going to talk about the movie Michael later on. Six the musical was also nominated. Girl from North Country, but A Strange Loop is what won. Actually, take that back. I'm sorry. Take that back. That was 2022. This is 2023. Oh my goodness. Sorry. Kimberly Akimbo was the musical that beat Shucked in 2023. That was 2023. Sorry. Kimberly Akimbo was the musical, which I saw Kimberly Akimbo. Other things that was nominated: Some Like It Hot, which I saw that. I like that. And Juliet, I saw that. I like that as well. And then there was a musical called New York, New York. So I saw And Juliet, I saw Shucked, I saw Some Like It Hot, I saw Kimberly Akimbo. Kimberly Akimbo won. It was a good musical. However, I think I would have liked Some Like It Hot. Jamarcus and I saw Shucked, but Shucked was good too. It's very tough. That was a very tough musical. That was a very tough year. I think I could see Shucked. I could see the case for Shucked. But Kimberly Akimbo was interesting. I think I would have went with Some Like It Hot. I think I enjoyed Some Like It Hot the most out of everybody that was in that conversation. Yeah, I would say that. But Kimberly Akimbo was also good. But anyway, it is on right now at Forest Theater, at Ensemble Arts. Tickets are available now. I highly recommend it. It was a very fun musical to watch. So that was that. I'm going to say this and then move on. I'm not going to give too much energy to it. Everybody's like, oh, where were you for Philly Black Pride? I was not invited to anything. The people that was running the show over there were doing what they do, and it was what it was. And guess what? I'm still Black. I'm still queer. I'm still a trailblazer. I'm still relevant. I'm still making my impact. I don't need to go to these manufactured community events to feel like I'm a part of community. I think at the end of the day, some of these organizers need to wake up and look at the bigger picture. But to the people who had a good time, I hope you all had a good time. Clearly, all of the community was not welcome or invited, but the people who went, if you had a good time and found something out of it for yourself, kudos. I think the best way I am my mood about this is the way that Mariah Carey feels. You know, she was not a part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She was once again snubbed, and she just simply said fantastic. And I think that's really my mood about it. Like I don't really hold any like strong grudges. You know, I just kind of like it is what it is. It is what it is. Life moves on. I think people are like, I mean, it happened this weekend. People went. Some people did. Some people didn't. And then guess what? We're back on, right? The world's moved on. It didn't make anyone lose any money. It didn't change history. It didn't change the standing of where people stand on the hierarchy of prioritization in the universe. It didn't change much. It just was a moment in time, and like all weekends, they come to an end. But yeah, back on that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame though. Phil Collins, Iron Maiden, Billy Idol, Oasis, Sade, Joy Division / New Order, Wu-Tang Clan, and Luther Vandross. They were announced as the honorees. They're going to be the inductees this year. People like Mariah Carey and others. Yeah, that didn't happen for them. So that's what we're dealing with over there. I just think it's crazy that Mariah Carey has not been inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think it's blasphemous. I mean, people are upset about New Edition. I get all that, but y'all, how is Mariah Carey not there? How was Mariah Carey not there? I mean, Iron Maiden could have waited, you know? Hell, I'll even go as far as say Sade. I mean, I like Sade. Sade's great, but what are we talking about? Like, Mariah Carey has literally revolutionized pop music. She is one of the greatest musicians of all time. Like, of all time. Like, why are we debating this? But, these metrics are all subjective. And when you're dealing with subjectivity, you gotta recognize what we're dealing with here. So hopefully she gets in. But I think Mariah's at a point in her career where she's already been fucked over by the Recording Academy so many times. Like, how many Grammys does this woman's deserved? And she just have not. I think the goalpost moves. Like, they say, oh, she's too commercial. But then when the commercial white artists come, everybody goes, oh, Taylor Swift, she sold this many albums. Of course she should get album of the year. But Mariah was doing all that, and people said, oh, no, we want to go with Alanis Morissette. We need to go with quality and all the bullshit. Mariah has been delivering excellence, quality, and commercialness. She's one of the few artists of our modern era that can be as talented as she is vocally while also hitting the masses. Because for so long in music, we've been told that if you're extremely talented on that level, you can't be able to have commercial success. That commercial success means auto-tune and everything else. And Mariah has proven that you can have a extreme level of talent while also being commercially successful. I mean, this is what Whitney Houston proved to us as well, Stevie Wonder and others, and Michael Jackson, right? But like nowadays, we are seeing a lot of mediocre artists who can't even hold a tune get Grammys, and yet at the same time, we're told, well, look what they did in the record. Look how many records they sold. Mariah has done that at a time before there was streaming, before there was all these other things, and proved that you can be both commercially successful and critically acclaimed. And that is a very hard feat to have. So for them to be snubbing Mariah Carey at this point in the game, it's bullshit. This woman also wrote her own songs. Mariah is a songwriter, okay? Not only is she a great vocalist, but she's a songwriter. The woman writes her songs and sings her songs. Like, it doesn't get any better than that. But I digress. So, if you listen to this episode on Monday, you're in for a treat. I am excited to announce that tonight, as in Monday night, if you're listening, if you're, one of the core 500 plus people who listen, I am going to be back on the hit show Fatal Attraction, which I cannot wait for. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be a good time. And this show is a great show. So, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? I'm going to be on TV One's hit crime docuseries Fatal Attraction. Now, for those who have DVRs and all that, you got to set your DVRs for this week's episode, okay? Season 16, episode 38. It's called Callous Collision, okay? Season 16, episode 38, Callous Collision. So that is the name of this episode. So if you are a DVR person and you like to save all your stuff, this is the episode name, okay? Yes, 16 seasons, 38 episodes in 16 seasons. Like, that's crazy. This is the 38 episode. They got long. This is a long season. I've been on this season like 2 times already. But basically, I will be unpacking this very wild love affair going deadly. This is basically covering the Rachel King case in Philadelphia. This, for those who remember, was this was a shooting that happened at Dunkin' Donuts, outside Dunkin' Donuts on a morning, in broad daylight. This woman got killed outside of a Dunkin' Donuts, and it's the Rachel King case. So if you know Rachel King, look her up. This happened in Philadelphia a couple years ago. I'm talking about this case in depth. So if you want to see me in action, looking good and talking my shit, and as we uncover this case, tune in tonight, Monday night, okay? 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, TV One, all right? Fatal Attraction, Season 16, Episode 38. It's called Callous Collision. We're going to watch it together. I'm going to be watching it on tonight, Monday night. I'm going to be watching it with all of you all. You know, I love a good live. I love a good live post. So if you're watching live and you see me on your screen, you know, take a little picture, tag me. I show all the love on the IG stories and stuff. But we're in for a special treat. This is going to be a very fun episode. So I am going to be at home, sat for this special episode. So, shameless plug, done. And let's get to hot topics. So, let's talk about the big headline, the talk of the town. Everybody's talking about it. This is like the umpteenth failed assassination attempt at President Donald Trump. He was at the White House Correspondents' dinner. He had to leave abruptly because of a lot of drama, okay? This White House Correspondents' dinner, as you all know, is a iconic dinner. It always happens around this time once a year. And normally what happens is the president, whoever is the president, gets roasted by the comedians, members of the press that covers the White House, political reporters, all from all different sectors of the industry, all come together for a dinner that is helping to raise money for the White House Correspondents Association. This year would have been no different. There's always a celebrity comedian or a host or whatever that makes jokes and things, and politicians, you know, it's gaffes. It's iconic. We've all have seen this and hear about it. Every year there's a host and they make their roast and it gets viral and everybody talks about it and it's a moment, right? Well, this year we didn't get the chance to have that because shots were fired. A 31-year-old man who I guess was a teacher. The race seems to be racially ambiguous, but they're saying he hits the black. Apparently fired shots, was not killed, has been detained, will be up for arraignment this week, but was arrested, was properly detained, fired shots. There's been a lot of things being said. The J.D. Vance, the vice president, was escorted out before the president himself, which was a major, Kash Patel, the FBI director, who's been in the news for a lot of shit lately, he stayed a little longer than people would have expected, but I guess he was acting in full duty. There was reports that RFK Jr. kind of left his wife behind as he was going further. That was alleged in the press. Erica, she was out here crying per usual. People said fake crying is what they were saying online. You know, she's gonna always emote, but she was emoting as she left. She said she just wanted to go home. People said she ain't been home in a minute, so they didn't really understand what the deal was. And I'm talking about Erica Kirk, who is now the CEO of Turning Point USA. She is the widow of Charlie Kirk, who was killed due to political violence less than a year ago. And so she's been in the news, consistently in the news, and people have, have said some very critical things about her. She was there. She left in a gown, crying. People said it felt like she was acting. No one was injured. There was no reports of anyone injured, despite the fact that there was multiple shots fired. But yeah, there are questions as to how this individual was able to make it inside the building, how they have all these weapons. There's a lot of questions. But right after this failed assassination attempt on the president and the safety, he does a press conference shortly after and makes it a point to say this is why he should have his massive ballroom. This is 2026, y'all. We're just going through the motions here. Right, yes. Right after another failed assassination attempt towards the president of the United States, he does a press conference and says that this is why he needs to have his ballroom, which has been called under scrutiny for the past couple of weeks. There's been a lot of court injunctions, a lot of people saying, halting it, the expenses, the costs. It's all been up in the air, and he has used this opportunity to call for it. And shortly after that, there was a barrage of his followers on social media, notably X, which is the former Twitter, that were in tandem using this talking point. Nothing more, nothing less, but quickly pushed out the messaging that the president should have a ballroom. Oh, okay. That's what we took away from this? Not increase safety at these events? Okay. So no one's talking about, public safety, gun violence control. How did this happen? We just move quite to the plot now. Now it's we need a ballroom because a ballroom would be the answer. Okay. So everyone on the internet has been, talking conspiracy theories. I'm not here to entertain the conspiracy theories. It is what it is. But people have been arguing, was this staged? Was this fake? Was this anyway? There's a lot of people having a lot of thoughts about that, right? What I will say is that the biggest disappointment to me in this entire situation, because disappointment, let me define disappointment real quick. Disappointment is when you have expectations for people to do better and they don't. So I'm not disappointed in the President of the United States because I don't have any expectations for him to be anything more than what he has shown himself to be. So disappointment does not apply to him. But I have disappointment with some of my colleagues in the Free Press, and I'm beginning to be over them very quickly. Specifically, some of these Black White House correspondents that have got on air on MS Now, Eugene Daniels, who is the president currently of the White House press correspondence group or whatever. They were trying to refute with the public on their critiques around the conspiracy theory notions. And said, this was a very real experience for us. We were very scared. This was real for us, blah, 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 blah. And said for people to deny what they saw, back the fuck up. Let me say this. Not that I'm saying I think it's a conspiracy theory or I'm saying it's staged. I'm not entertaining that. But I don't think people are listening, okay? Two things can be true at the same time. You as members of the press could have been scared for your life. It had nothing to do with whatever the fuck was going on. But respectfully, just listening, because I actually was listening to what people were saying on the internet, I don't think anybody is confused about the press's involvement in this, right? You all were victims. You were terrorized. I think the conspiracy theory notion, if people want to entertain that, right, that it was staged, was that could also, that this could be staged and you all could have not been aware of it, okay? Just to be clear. So to try to treat the public as if they don't believe that the shootings happened. No, people believe that. I don't think anyone's questioning it. They're just saying that they don't believe that what took place was necessarily all as organic from everybody in the room. That is what is being argued. Not from myself, but it's being argued online. So no one is saying that the press were not victimized and not see what they saw. No one's questioning that. The question is whether or not this was a legitimate, actual attack, or was it staged in a way that would have the rest of you all worried and scared for your lives. Because some people consider the president to be a sun queen. That is what's being alleged. Now, outside of that, I am a person that do believe in a level of fucking around and finding out. A lot of journalists had told their colleagues, don't go to this dinner. This dinner is going to be a mess. It's going to be debauchery. No matter how it plays out, it's not going to be anything fruitful or useful or all the things, right? There's no need to go to this circus and entertain the clownery that's going to happen. That was what was told by members of the press to colleagues that were going. People told April Ryan, April, you're a well-respected journalist. I know April Ryan. I've met her. I knew her not 2 years ago, nearly 10 years ago. We were both honored by that organization, the National Association of Black Journalists. I got Emerging Journalist of the Year. She had won Journalist of the Year. This was in 2017. So this was 9 years ago. And I met her. She's historic. She is the longest running Black White House correspondent to ever cover the White House. She's covered it longer than anybody else of her ethnicity, her race. All the things, right? She's a big deal, historic. She's a trailblazer. Cannot take that from her. No one's taking that from her. However, many of her colleagues, including myself and others, said, why are you all going to this dinner? Like, why are you subjecting yourselves to this? This is not it. Like, this is a dinner. It's not work. Why are we normalizing fascism? Why are we normalizing this entire culture? This is not safe. This is not a good, productive space and place to be. Like, don't normalize this man and his behavior. Don't go. She, before the dinner, had made a post on Instagram saying that she was complex, she was perplexed, she was uncomfortable with all these things. My own mindset is, if that's how you feel, why go? Right? If you're struggling with going to this dinner, if you're struggling with the purpose of all this, don't go. But she tried to also, in one breath, say in another that, this is not about him. This is about the free press. Can y'all stop doing that? Mainstream journalists, respectfully, can y'all stop doing that? Can we stop misinforming the public on this work? Stop walking around here like you're some valor or some hero. There is a level of careerism involved in this industry that needs to be talked about. And I think I'm going to have that conversation right now. I've talked about in the past. I have lost friends, people I thought were my friends in journalism because of careerism. And what I mean by careerism, if y'all don't know what that means, and careerism is not only in journalism, it's in all different industries, but careerism is when people basically will prioritize advancement in their career at the expense of their integrity, their morality, their self-respect, others, common sense, and reason. Basically, they're so obsessed with advancing in their career that they will let that trump everything else in their life. Marriage, friendships, health, anything. Because they're so obsessed with trying to get the promotion, to get the raise, to get the this, to get the that they're so career hungry that they will trump it over everything else. Okay? In The Devil Wears Prada, careerism is a great theme of that movie, which is why it resonates with me so much. When I was very early in my career, very, very early in my career, I had a moment of careerism. And a lot of people can have that experience where there was a point of me where I was just like, I want to get to the top. I want this. And like, I just want to be successful. And I recognized that in the very, very beginning of my career, there was no balance. And I realized very quickly One, you get a moment. There's always that moment in your life where you recognize, oh, this job don't give a fuck about me. Oh, I would have done all this and I would have lost it all. Nah. So I quickly pivoted from that very, very quickly because I recognize how nasty the industry is. And I also realized that at the end of the day, what's the point of having a quote unquote career if you don't have any friends, if you don't have a marriage, if you don't have happiness, if you don't actually have good health, if you don't actually have all the things that you're supposed to be doing this for? And somebody needs to listen to this because a lot of people even in my own network get so caught up in chasing career, and I'm looking at them like, but what else do you have? Literally, what else do you have? You got all these things, and what else do you have? Nothing to show for it? Couldn't be me. So I made it very clear and very, very crystal in my early beginning of my career that if I could not have a career that could sustain a marriage, friendship, confidence, other interests in my life, I don't want that kind of career. And if success looks like having nothing but a career, then I don't want that kind of success, if that's what success looks like. So I made it very clear early in my life that I wanted to have good health. I wanted to look good, feel good. I wanted to have a good support system. I wanted to be able to have flexibility. I wanted to be able to have those things. And I was never going to sacrifice those things for this career because this industry will chew you up and spit you out. I've seen so many people I've admired in this business that would go after whatever the awards. They get one award and they think, if I just get this, I'll be good. If I work at this position, I'll be good. If I get this thing, I'll be good. And they would get those things and never would be good. And I said, oh, hell no. If I'm not going to do that. And a lot of them don't have their edges. A lot of them don't look as good as they could look. A lot of them are sleep deprived. A lot of them have lost lots of relationships, have burnt bridges, have burnt friendships. And a lot of them are just somewhere miserable and bitter. And just all they got is the career. So all they got is the VIP passes. But where's the husband? Where's the wife? Where's the spouse? Where's the friends? Where's the people that cheer you on? They got a bunch of awards, but they got no one to celebrate it with. They got a bunch of money, but don't have any purpose, no causes, no drive, no support systems, no leadership, nobody they can mentor, no impact. I said, oh, hell no. That couldn't be me. And so when people look at me and say, oh, you should be on this, you should do this, why are you not seeing it? Why in this? Because I know what it costs to do those things. And what I want in my life, I already have. I'm grateful. I'm so appreciative to have the life that I have. I am blessed with some opportunities. I got some great stuff coming up. I've had great things, but I've never put my career above my well-being. Because if you start, you will find yourself in your 50s, you find yourself in your 60s, and all you got is that. And so many people that I look up to in this industry, I've seen them tell me, don't do it like that. Privately. They'll never tell you all that, right? They'll make it look glamorous. But one of the things that I remember a couple years ago as I navigated shit, I remember some people saying, you got a good thing. You got a good man. Savannah. Well, this time I really had a good man. They say, oh, you got a good man. Oh my God, your lit brother friends, y'all having so much fun. I wish I could do that. I'm like, what? And I used to be like, what do you mean? You at this station, you got this job. And they were just like, if I had that. There are so many of those people that look at what I have and say, that is it. I'd be like, I want some of your millions though. I don't need to have all your millions, but if I had a couple of millions, I'd be. But I listened and I said that early on in my career, I used to be I need to have a place like this. I need to have this. And those things have come. And I realized that the things that keep me the most grounded is my friends, is my relationships, the ability to be present in my brother's lives, to be the big brother that can have that, to be able to have a whole Greek life fraternity experience, to be able to go to dinner and hang out with my friends and like shoot the shits with Candace and go out for drinks and go to a musical with Jamarcus and be able to just have that presence while also having what I have. I would rather have this than have what some of these other people have. And there's no shade. because everybody has what they have. But I'm happy. I'm very happy. I know that things can be annoying with some of these politicians, but I would not trade the circumstance I have now for the world. Because you can lose so much of yourself in these jobs. And I see so many people in this industry I look up to that just, that's all they do. This is all they have. This is all they're obsessed about. That is what they're chasing because they have nothing else to chase. It's sad. And so I look at certain people who are still playing this game with Trump, with the White House, putting their lives at risk just so they can say they broke the news, just so they can say that they're the first to do this or to be there. I'm looking at cell phones in the middle of an assassination attempt. I'm seeing people with their cell phones out in gowns. And I'm thinking to myself, if something like that traumatic happened to me, the first thing I'm going to do is get my ass the fuck up out of there and go home. I'm not about to sit up and feel like I need to have a camera on me and quote unquote report what's going on. Child, could not be me. And here's the thing. Your job does not give a fuck because you can do all that and you can get laid off in 3 weeks. Don't ask me how I know, but I know some folks that have covered some big, deep shit and then a week later got laid off, covered the whole midterm elections and then got laid off, got a severance package. I said, what the hell? People will, that is, these companies don't give a fuck about you and your safety. And to see people consistently risking their lives in this type of way, for these companies, don't let them fool you. They're not doing it for the greater good. They want to make themselves martyrs. That's bullshit. They're thinking that this is what's going to keep them employed. They're thinking that this is going to keep them relevant. And they're prioritizing common sense in their health and wellness for the pursuit of that opportunity. And here's the thing. They could have been shot. They could have been dead. And guess what? People would have mourned them, named a scholarship after them, and they would have moved on. I'm all about preserving myself because I am somebody's husband. I am somebody's son. I am somebody's big brother. I am somebody's professor. I am somebody's author. I am somebody's best friend. I am all the things. And I'm not going to ever put myself in that level of jeopardy for any career, any job. And so when I heard some of these people coming out talking about this is what the free press, this, that, shut up. Stop telling that lie. Stop telling that lie. Stop telling that lie. You want to be relevant. You're fighting for relevance. You need to stay hot, and that's why you're doing it. It's the unspoken rule. And this business is toxic if you allow it to be. I took myself out of this toxicity years ago. I realized, oh, this is what it takes to be on quote-unquote top. I'll be a bottom, and there ain't nothing wrong with being a bottom. I ain't gonna be a bottom on the charts. I'm just saying I'm not gonna listen. Let me stop. But I'm not playing these games. I'm not gonna play those games. And there are so many people who are playing all day in our faces, acting like they're this. Don Lemon, fuck you. And if you don't know why I said that, I'm just gonna say it like that. There's people out here dancing with fascists, playing around for sensationalism, just doing whatever they want to do, just so that they can be able to stay relevant. My thing is, there's a lot of great news in this town, in this industry to break that does not require you to compromise your actual principles. Listen, I got something I'm about to break this week, okay? But I'm going to tell you, whatever story I do, it's aligned with values that's in the direction to move the conversation forward to inform people. You can do that without being a sellout. You can do that without trying to act like you're a martyr. You can do that without exploiting these situations. This industry has gotten so exploitative. Like, I just think it's ridiculous to me that you are in a life or death situation, a horrific, traumatic experience. And the first thing you're thinking about, the moment you are under that table for your life, right? The moment you get out of that table. The first thing that comes to your mind is I'm gonna pull out a cell phone and record. You're not gonna be like, let me go home, be with my family, check in with my folks, breathe, go to bed, process, go to my therapist. You're thinking about reporting a story? Are we crazy? And the reality is, let's be 100. Nobody needed everybody in that damn room to be acting like they're reporting on the fucking story. Cut that shit out. Cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out. Everybody did not need to do it. All these reactionary videos. So I saw April video right after that happened, and I shared on my IG story. It was a video she's reacting of being terrified and what happened. And I'm thinking, so before you went in there, you literally was told from your followers and from people say, hey, be safe, be this. And you talked about how plexed you were. Why didn't you use common sense in your spirit? You knew your spirit was telling you don't be there. And now you want to come out and talk about how horrible it was and how scary it was and this and that. Come on, people. I want to see y'all make it. I want to see us be alive. I want everybody to be okay. Why are we playing with our lives and playing with this man? Anything around that man, ain't no good coming from it. But people out here want to, whatever it takes. Oh, I was right there in the front row. Okay. You want a cookie? Get her some milk. Like, I don't get it. Like, everybody hype. Oh, I was there. It was crazy. What did you expect? I went to a circus. I was told don't go because there are going to be lions and tigers and bears. I went anyway, and the lion roared and the bear tore up shit, and now I'm shocked. You know what's infuriating for me now is the performative shock of it all. Everybody acting shocked. Like they didn't know what could happen. So for those who don't know what can happen, here's what will happen if you go to a Trump event. You are going to be potentially disrespected. There could be potential hostility from law enforcement. There could be the possibility of somebody opening fire because security ain't a damn thing, okay? Chaos, debauchery, a hot mess express, your safety, your edges, your wig might fall off. Like, a lot of things can happen when you're around that man. So that can happen. So at this point, that's why most of America was like, oh, okay, next. We've become so desensitized that we're just like, okay, next. Because what are we to do? He don't even give a fuck. The president was like, yeah, but we need a ballroom though. He wants to move on. So why are y'all gonna sit up here on the cable news section and keep on replaying and trying to talk about it? Oh, is this a great distraction from his unpopular polling? Is this a distraction from the fact that his son, Eric Trump, got $24 million a Pentagon contract? Is it a distraction that this war in Iran is still, we don't know how the ceasefire going to play out? Is it a distraction from Kash Patel and the allegation of his drunkenness, or all these lawsuits that they've been trying to sue against the press that keep dropping and failing because they can't sue the press because the press got the receipts? What are we talking about here? Not a damn thing. So, I just want to say, y'all could all miss me with that. I'm smarter than that. We better than that. And we good. Okay? I'm not playing these games. I'm not playing these games with people. My peers know better. My peers been in business for a long time. Y'all got to stop with the cap. Stop with the cap. Okay? Cut the cap out. Because it's too much going on. We got too much going on for people to sit up here and keep playing in people's face. We got so many more important things happening right now for people to be walking around here playing these types of politics. I'm over it. I really am. I'm really over it, y'all. I want better for our communities. I want better for the public. Credibility gets lost when we sit up here and continue to play these type of political games. There's too many conversations happening right now in Philadelphia that I'm just tired of everybody. Every time something happens, everyone pulls the whole shock and awe. Can you believe this? Yes, I can. Actually, I can. I can believe this. I actually can believe this. So that's that. Bless their hearts. But bless their hearts. I don't, we got to keep it 100 on the beam, you know? But yeah. So these Democrats, these Democrats, what can be said? What's new about the what's going on in Democrat land? For starters, there's a lot of Democrats passing away. There's a lot of Democrats passing away. There's been, I think, 4 Democrats that have died in recent months. This week, another Democrat has died. He was an Alpha man, a Penn alum. I was like, oh my goodness. But he was a senior fellow. And I was like, what? It's like always something going on over here. But this man is a congressman. He's an alum. He was Congressman Rep. David Scott. He was running for re-election. He is a 1969 Wharton MBA graduate, and he died on April 22nd. He received his MBA from Wharton, but he was elected to Congress in 2002. And he is one of the 5 Penn alum that is in the current 119th session, and he was running for re-election. And he passed away while running for re-election. I want to be very clear. He graduated from Wharton with his MBA in 1969. Crazy. 1969, y'all. Just for us to keep track. 1969. That's 57 years ago. 57 years ago. So, yeah. I'm just saying, like, we're losing a lot of Democrats. He was 80 years old. 80 years old. 80 years old. Running for re-election. So it's a lot going on. It's a lot. And this is why I'm telling people that we got to be strategic. We got to be smart. We got to be smart about this. Like these re-elections, like why is it this many Democrats? Like, I mean, Republicans got some old folks too. I'm not saying they don't, but like we got to have an honest conversation. We got to have an honest conversation about the secession plans. It's too many people that are running for these seats. 4 Democrats have died in office so far this term. The Democrats have lost more members to death in 1 2-year term than any party since the 1970s. Sylvester Turner, who used to be the mayor of Houston, how you doing? 70 years old, he passed away. Raul Guruvela, 76 years old, from Arizona. And Gary Connolly, 75 years old. So all these people have passed away after the age of retirement. David Scott, 80. He's a member of Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. He's my fellow frat brother, Penn alum. Passed away at 80. Sylvester Turner, 70. Raul from Arizona, 76. Gary Connolly, 75. So now the Republicans now have a wider majority with 218 seats compared to the Democrats' 212 seats. So this margin is hard because while Republicans are losing seats, they're also keeping the margin because Democrats are dying. Because these aging, past senior citizen age congresspeople are trying to run for re-election while they're also dying. They're aging out. What we doing, Democrats? What we doing? What we doing? What are we doing? So while that's happening, there is some other news. I've been following these resignations. The House will no longer have to vote on whether or not to expel Representative Sheila Sharifis McCormick because she's resigned from office. Now, this is around accusations of fraud and breaking campaign finance rules. She is currently facing felony charges in Florida. She has not been convicted, but she has been indicted. And so because of that, she's also part of the reason why we have this margin. Her resignation is a part of how we got to 212 Democrats. This past week, we've lost 2 Democrats in the House, one from death and one from resignation. Republicans are now at 218. They lost one last week. So I think it was Tony Gonzalez, or whatever his name was, in Texas, that Republican. We then lost 3 Democrats in the past 2 weeks because, Stalwell, his ass had to go, from California. And I'm butchering all these last names, but like, my goodness, all these people resigning because of these controversies. Eric Swalwell, we done lost 3 Democrats in the House. 3 in the past 2 weeks. 2 had to resign from disgrace, and 1 because of old age. This is where we're at, y'all. So now we have a 6-body margin. We have a 6-person margin now. 6. We were so close. So now a Republican have to fuck up or something so that we can have an edge. I don't know. We got a 6 margin right now, it looks like. So we're gonna see. It looks like the Democrats can have a chance to take back the House, but with all these damn vacancies and special elections and shit, I don't know. I don't know. So we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see because listen, this general election coming up is no joke. And then before we get to media changes, I want to talk about this because this has come up. I got some people in Cali. Y'all keep asking me about what do I think about Spencer Pratt. Now, Spencer Pratt, it was on the reality show The Hills. News have come out that he has now surpassed the incumbent Mayor Karen Bass in campaign funding. Now, Spencer Pratt has no political history, child. He's a reality star that got mad because he lost his house in the big old fires last year in California. He lost his house. He didn't have insurance, allegedly. And so his house got caught up in the Palisades. Well, he's in his feelings about it. And ever since then, he's been very critical of Mayor Karen Bass, who is the mayor of L.A. She's a black woman. He's been very critical of her and how she responded to those fires, and it's prompted him to run against her. So a lot of Hollywood money has been backing him and going, and now he's out fundraised her, and people are worried, right? Here's the thing. I don't necessarily know if he's going to win. I don't think he's going to win. But I do think that the fact that he's even prompted himself to run for mayor simply because of his little cause, I think if LA votes for him as mayor, they're stupid and they deserve what's coming to them. I don't think he's going to win, but I do see the role of money coming into the place. And while that is very telling, I just think that money is going to be moneying. And I think there are some Hollywood celebrities that are interested. But my gut tells me he's not going to win. I just think that it is very telling that at any moment a celebrity is mad, they could just raise money and run against the person without no political experience. That's the current state of politics that we're in, and that's what's disgusting. So that's my thoughts about him on that. I don't take him that seriously. I don't take that race seriously, but we're going to keep an eye on it nonetheless. And then moving on, okay, to these media changes. The big media change that I want to discuss at large is Meta. They own, of course, Instagram and Facebook. If you've been following very closely, they're cutting 10% of their workforce, which is potentially, reports have been going up and down, but we're talking around 20,000 jobs as everyone begins to talk about this AI-driven workforce. Now, this is very unfortunate, and I just want to say that before I go in, because I am going to go in, a lot of people, I think, like I said, I've been following these layoffs. Last week, we talked about these layoffs happening. I feel like every week we're hearing about these massive layoffs that's happening. based on a variety of reasons, right? Some people talk about COVID, which is my theory, is that a lot of this is the post-COVID realization that we don't need all these office buildings, we don't need all this shit. But then also people are arguing the AI conversation, right? Here's the thing about big tech. I have been telling all of the college students that I mentor that are like interested in the industry, I always told people that reading and writing, okay? Reading and writing and having some, mathematical, you know, um, understanding, but critical thinking skills. Knowing how to read, knowing how to analyze, knowing how to think critically, knowing how to talk, right? Discuss, right? To debate, to challenge thinking, right? That literacy, right? That those are skills that will take you and keep you no matter where you go. The world around us was telling everybody, oh, get computer jobs. Computer science was like the big degree, right? Everybody was like, oh, get a computer science master's degree. Oh, get a computer science degree. Oh, no tech, know how to code, know how to code. Ooh. That was the narrative, okay? No one needs to know how to read and write. Oh, fuck an English degree, they said. Oh, fuck comms. What is comms? What does that mean? That's not a real degree. Oh, they try to tell you so much to just do the sciences, and that writing is a soft skill and reading is a soft skill and media literacy. That's what they told people, right? Well, all of these computer science degrees, folks, are now being outpaced by AI because AI has now replaced coding, has replaced all of these skills that were tech skills, right? Now they have found a way to replace you with the jobs. So these tech jobs that everybody was running to are now being outpaced by machines and AI software that has now replaced the ability for you to do what you need to do. So you've now created yourself a job that can take you out of your job, and not in a good way. And so now you're obsolete. Now you're trying to figure out what can you do, right? Like, do you go and be a professor? Do you go and teach curriculum? Like, all of the promises made around money, make money, money, money. I'm going to tell people this. I'm going to forever tell people this. Don't ever get a career solely to make money. Don't ever get an industry solely to make money. Don't ever get an industry simply to make some money, because you can make the money and then eventually what happens next? If you're in an industry where you have no actual personal passion for the subject matter whatsoever, and you're only interested in it for the sake of making money, then you've already failed. Because what will happen is that once you get to a point where you don't have any money, because you don't have any passion for it, you can't even find ways to make money. I love journalism. I do. And I will forever find a way to make money in this business because I have a passion for it that lets me see what has not been touched, what have not been done, what can use, work, and improve. A lot of people I know that decided to go the tech route had no personal passion for it. They went because their parents told them to. They went because that's what the industry told them to. And I remember there was an era, and you millennials remember this, my fellow millennials that was in college in the 2010s. You all remember there was this big pressure on all of us, and our family told us, oh, you got to learn Mandarin, you got to learn Chinese, you got to learn this and the tech, the global world, you got to learn tech stuff, you got to know computer science. Like, that was forced down our throats. And while I did have some, understanding of it to some degree, I know how to code, I understand some of the basic fundamentals, I never got hell bent on letting that be my career because I quite frankly not have a strong passion for it. And there are some people that have a passion for computer science. Like, they do. They really do understand tech. And those people, like my good friend Jeremy, has done architecture. He's doing so many other things beyond what that initial degree was in the School of Engineering. But there are other people I know that have worked at Google and worked at Facebook and all these places, and now they're shit out of luck of a job because they was chasing this identity that, oh, I'm going to be a tech bro, I'm going to be a tech girl, whatever it was. And now with these layoffs coming, they don't know what's next. Personally, I would advise them to figure out consulting, figure out how to take certain skills they've learned and to apply them into other spaces and industries, figure out ways to do so academically, but to simply not have a plan, is very telling within itself. So that's my thoughts on that. I do keep thoughts and prayers for the folks that are going to be impacted by this. 20,000 jobs ain't nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot of families. Like when I hear about job layoffs like that, like when you say 20,000 jobs, I say 20,000 families. I say 20,000 families. And if you times that by 4, even bigger than that, let's just say 4, that's 80,000 people that's going to be impacted by that. That's at the bare minimum. That's serious. That's nothing to sneeze at. We're talking families, tons of people that might be relying on that type of income to help them, benefits, all kind of things, promises, expectations, all types of things. And look where we are now. That's unfortunate. That's the conversation that needs to be had. But we'll see. We'll see. So with local politics, there's a lot to unpack. And I've been trying to figure out, where do I want to start with this conversation? I'm going to get into the on the record interview I did with Sierra McNeil. She is running for the 195th legislative district. She's running as a state rep. She's running against the current incumbent, which is State Representative Keith Harris. And there's another candidate race, a long-time perennial candidate. He's ran before for state rep in another district before the redistricting, and that is Kenneth Walker. He ran against Malcolm Kenyatta about nearly 10 years ago, about maybe 8 years ago, something like that. It was a while, though, when he first ran for a state rep. Malcolm Kenyatta did. So this is around maybe 2018. So it's been about like 8 years. And that was like that was the race where a lot of people thought he had a really good chance, and he ended up getting knocked off the ballot, which changed the outcome. But he had ran in the past, but I think that was the race where it looked like he had the biggest shot, and then it all came crashing down. But this time around, a lot of eyes have been on Sierra McNeil. She's a social worker. She's 37 years old, and she has been backed by the Working's Family Party. She's got a lot of momentum. Keith Harris is the incumbent, but he's only been in the seat one term. He won a special election. He was a longtime ward leader in the area after Donna Bullock had stepped down and not ran for re-election. So then the seat was open. There was speculation that she had someone in her camp who was a woman that could have surpassed her and she could have supported. But in the end, it all went towards Keith Harris. He won a special election. He got the seat. And since then, there's been a lot of controversy around some bills he has signed that does not seem to be in favor of his party. He has signed on to notable Republican bills that he has since have taken his name off, but nonetheless, his name was initially on. And that has garnered some controversy, as this race is considered the most competitive state rep race in this primary cycle. And it's been interesting. I know Keith Harris a little bit. I don't know him that well, but he has really garnered a reputation for being someone that seems to be a little sloppy with his voting record. And that's been some of the problems that have come up, because he has signed on as a co-sponsor of 349 bills, which there's something to be said for that. The problem is that there has been a lot of criticism about some of these bills that he has signed, and he has kind of flip-flopped on some of his positioning as to why. And so this comes full circle in this conversation. Now, you can go to the link in my bio on social media. If you go to Instagram, you go to Twitter, you go to Threads, I have a link in bio that shows all of my recent updated episodes and clips. This interview that I'm talking about that I did with Sierra McNeil was Sunday's episode of On the Record with Ernest Stones on 96.1 FM, 900 AM, Progressive Black Talk Media, Word Radio. You can listen to this interview for yourself. So everything I'm saying here, you can listen to the whole interview. This was an interview between myself and Sierra McNeil. That was the interview. Keith called in unexpectedly. I did not know he was calling in. I didn't even know he was listening to the show live. But my producer notified me that, hey, you have a caller. I said, okay. Let this caller's calling in between this interview. You know, it needs to be of the essence. I'm thinking it's going to be breaking news. I'm thinking it's going to be, you know, something there. It's Keith. And he's on the show. He calls in. He starts, you know, dumping on, you know, Sierra about, you know, saying that, hey, he's, you know, flinging these allegations that, you know, she's with Reclaim and, which Reclaim endorsed her, I imagine, and that they've been taking down his signs, him and his opponent, referring to Kenneth Walker. So he's referring to both her and Sierra. And he's talking about people on the block said she's not friendly. It was just this random rant. And I was just very confused because I didn't understand, like, you're calling in about this? That just really felt weird to me. But I'm listening. You know, I'm listening, and then I'm like, okay, since you're here, I want to understand your voting record. And that's when things got really weird. So he removed his name from two bills that really was a red flag, in my opinion. And one of the bills basically allowed for parents to access the mental health records without their children's permission, or allowed them to file civil suits against sanctuary cities in Philadelphia. He was the lone Democrat sponsor on several GOP-led bills that was introduced during this legislative session, which includes measures to restrict undocumented immigrants from working in Pennsylvania. Also, the argument around this allowing the parents, right? Now, let me tell you why this bill, the former bill I just named, the one about allowing parents to access their minors' mental health records without the child's permission, is considered an anti-LGBTQ bill because this involves students that might, you know, share information about their sexuality and whatnot. That this is considered an anti-LGBTQ bill because students, you know, parents who, you know, students or minors who might be sharing this information around, you know, gender dysphoria and these issues that impact them, that this could violate their privacy, especially with parents that might, you know, use it to try to put their kids in conversion therapy and whatnot. Also, the fact of allowing residents to file civil suits against sanctuary cities, right? This is a problem. Lawmakers, you know, that support bills like this often tell other legislators who align with the proposal. Like, this is a part of the process, right? So apparently, when the Inquirer reached out to him for, you know, for that article that they wrote, this all was reported in the Philadelphia Inquirer, he removed his name from all but two of those bills. He maintained that his sponsorship of bills to quote unquote verify companies seeking contracts in meatpacking and food preparation. This is the E-Verify system. He says, quote, one thing I pride myself on as a lawmaker is a willingness to debate any issue and topic, no matter how sensitive. He says, that's why I tend to add my name to bills rather than not, because even the issues I do not support deserve to be put before the people. I can understand how people would mistakenly assume my name on the bills make me an automatic yes vote, but that is not the case, is what he said. Now, what's weird with this is that on my show, he tried to make that same argument, to which I was offended. He said that, which I don't understand this logic, in my opinion. But he basically said, just because I co-sponsored something doesn't mean I supported it. And that he was doing this to spur a conversation. Excuse me? Like, I don't understand that. If you're a legislator, why would you co-author legislation that you don't believe in, that you don't support? And why would you do that to quote unquote spur a conversation? Are you, is that, does he think I'm stupid? Like, what I don't understand is that the point of being a legislator in Harrisburg is that you're supposed to support pieces of legislation that you believe in and believe. And if you don't believe those things, why would you entertain it? Especially as a Democrat with Republicans, unless you're working across the aisle for other things. You should listen to that interview very carefully, because what was supposed to be an interview between me and Sierra McNeil becomes an interview that becomes an indictment on his record, which is what she was critiquing. So in that conversation, I shifted the focus on, well, if you're going to come on this show, are you here to address the allegations and the claims that she's making? And what do you have to say for it? To which there was a lot of deflection. And in some situations, he conceded. I said, were you making a rookie mistake? He said, yes. He acknowledges that he's kind of not prepared in the ways that one would expect one to be for a seat of that magnitude. And it spoke to her criticisms of his unreadiness to serve and represent the district. And in my over a decade, years of local political coverage, I've never seen, in my experience, an opponent of a candidate disrupt an interview and literally torpedo their own race in that moment. Because in so many ways, he would have been better off not even interrupting the interview, not calling in. But to call in on my show and be ill-prepared for what was being discussed, I was gagged. I was gagged, y'all. I was gagged by the audacity. I was gagged by how he literally handed his race to her. If I was a betting man, as of right now, I don't know how this will all shape up, but I'm willing to predict that this guy is going to lose. If the voters are paying attention to this race, I think he is super vulnerable. I think he is feeling the pressure, and I think his actions are taking over common sense. You are the incumbent, and that man was not acting like an incumbent on my show. I don't even know why he came. I don't know why he called in. I don't know why he couldn't wait. We could have had an interview. I don't know why he decided to call in. And not only did he call in, but I'm thinking, okay, you're going to call in to refute or debate or challenge or say she's lying. This guy gets on the show, and it's just like, what is going on? Is this the rookie playing in the major leagues? Like, it is so obvious. The problems. And I don't know. I just don't even understand. Look, some people can be in the community. Some people, and that's the theme of this segment, because I got some things to say about a lot of folks that I've been observing in this game. I don't know what is going on in our political atmosphere, locally, national, but somebody's got to keep it 100. And I'm about ready to start saying some things because I've seen enough across several of these races. First of all, Keith Harris can be a well-meaning man. This man made it a point to tell me so many times that he supports my husband and I, and that he don't got an issue with the LGBTQ community, and he loves the gays, and he got family members. Sir, that's neither here nor there. The problem is that your voting record does not match your beliefs. And you literally told me you want to spur the conversation. Why are you spurring the conversation with people who are supporting policies that harm people in my community? If you care, how do you? How do you do that? How do you think that's okay? I just think there needs to be a situation where he needs to sit down and reckon with it. Because I can't vouch for that shit. And I'm tired of people doing the whole, you know me, you know whatever. I'm sorry, I'm looking at your voting record. Stop making this personal. We're not friends in politics. You are a politician. You are a legislator. You need to speak to your record. Stop making this personal. The problem with Democrats in Philadelphia specifically is that too many of them have treated running for office like it's like they're entitled to it. This is a seat that makes a difference in people's lives, and you're treating it like it's something to just do. Shame on these committee people. Shame on these people that put these people in these seats and not prepared. In my opinion, I don't think Keith Harris is ready. I don't think that he will be ready. I think his intentions may be fine, but we're not electing our friends or people we care about. We're electing people that are ready for the job. I don't think he's ready for this job. I don't think that he's making smart decisions for his party and for his own interests. I don't think he knows what he's doing. I don't think that he is I think it's a disservice to him and his district to give him that seat so he can make these types of rookie mistakes. I think that it is reckless. I think that it's irresponsible. And I think that, is he a good person? Sure, if people want to say that. Is he a man who might have done good things in the community? I'm not going to take that from him. But is he a good legislator? I think that kind of logic is a problem that we have in politics. I think the way that he thinks about legislation is very dangerous. I think that is very reckless. And I think that is creating problems. I think anybody who would say on the record that they're co-sponsoring things that they don't believe in, to me, does not make sense. When you say something like, just because I co-sponsor something doesn't mean that I support it, then why are you co-sponsoring for? We're supposed to co-sponsor legislation that we believe in as legislators. If that's what you are, why would you do that? Unless you're playing politics. And I think we've had enough playing of politics in Harrisburg. So I don't know. I was not a fan of that. And he has since tried to critique the situation at hand. Go back and listen to the interview. Stop talking to me. Go listen to what you said. Nobody asked you to come on my show. You chose to come on my show. Nobody asked you to interrupt this woman's interview in a way that was unproductive and made you look like a fool. And the machine will back them because they just want to support incumbents. And this is why people don't have respect for the Democratic Party in Philadelphia. This is why people want to disrupt the system, because so many folks that go through this damn system is not prepared. And Sierra was a class act based on what I had with her in the interview. I had never spoken to her before. That was my first time talking to her. She requested an interview. I gave it to her. Mind you, everybody else is being tacky. Tacky. State Representative Harris did not reach out for an interview. He interrupts this woman's interview with bullshit. Get your shit together. You want to do an interview? Let's do an interview. But don't get on the interview and don't lie. And don't talk in circles. Stay focused. When he was on that show, I don't know if you listen, I brought him back to her. I said to him at one point, I said, listen, this is my show. Don't come on here with that. I will take you off the show. Answer these questions and stop going all over the place. I was frustrated. If you're going to call in, be ready. Be prepared. And some people might say, well, why did you have him on the show? No. This is on the record. If you are a legislator and you want to address what someone is saying, by all means, you can. But the problem was he wasn't really addressing what she was saying. He was talking about random shit. I'm concerned. I don't live in the 195th district. But if I did, if you are someone that lives in the 195th district, I encourage you to wake up. If you live in that Strawberry Mansion area, if Donna Bullock was your previous state rep and you are currently there right now, I need you to pay attention to that state rep race. Because this is not something to sleep at. I live in my district. My state rep is Rick Krajewski. I'm just going to have to sigh because I need him to find a backbone. I need him to find some, he just keep flip-flopping on people. He has no loyal bone in his body. I don't know what he doing. But, he don't really have a real challenger. So I would arguably say I'm stuck with him. But I don't know what to do with that man. But that's my state rep. Bless his heart. Now, Kenneth Walker's people have reached out to me. They're interested on a potential interview. We'll see. He's 49 years old. He's been endorsed by the Guardian Civic League of Philadelphia, the Teamsters Local 502, CASA. He previously unsuccessfully ran for state representative in North Philly. He challenged Curtis Thomas in 2016. So I remember that race in 2016. So that was 10 years ago. He went to Cheney University. He is now a senior pastor, for the Church of God in Christ. I grew up in Kojic, so I know about that. He's a member of the Philadelphia Police Department's Advisory Committee. Lots of stuff with the police. Interesting. But we'll see. We'll see. He tried to get the Working Family Party endorsement, did not receive it. He's been claiming he's been ignored by local Democrats despite his strong connections as a pastor and former nonprofit leader. But, it's a different race. He's coming back 10 years later trying to get the state rep seat. We'll see. It's been interesting for him. But that 195 race is something to watch. I just want y'all to know that if we see a major upset in that race, we see a new person, I'm letting you all know right now, don't be surprised, because what I saw this past weekend, I don't know. It's not looking good for Keith. But it's Philly politics. Anything can happen. Now, this congressional race has been getting very messy. Chris Rabb has been racking up endorsements. He's been getting endorsements from AOC, from Summer Lee. He's been getting his endorsements. But let me be very clear about this. These endorsements kind of feel slightly predicted. At this point, if Bernie Sanders come out and endorse him, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think he's gotten endorsed by Bernie Sanders. But if he do get endorsed by Bernie Sanders, I wouldn't be surprised. But I just kind of feel like the race is getting very, polarizingly clear on the stances. I haven't seen too much major shakeups or hiccups. Everything is on the script. Shreve Street is getting his endorsements by Philadelphia Democrats locally. Rabb is getting most of his endorsements by national figures that are not living in the congressional district he is. Dr. Ayla Stanford has racked in some endorsements, but from previous Congress people that are in other neighboring areas. The congressional women nearby have endorsed her, Mary Gay Scallon, a couple other women that are in congressional districts, again, that is not in the district. Clearly not in the district that she's running for, but they have come out and endorsed her. It's just been a very interesting season, right? I have a theory. I'm going to wait on my theory because I do have thoughts about who I think could win this congressional race. I'm still not sold on Rabb. And I think part of the reason why I'm not sold on Rabb is because I just feel like this is just kind of what the Working Families Party do sometimes, these races, where you go really big, you go very national. He does have some money, but I just feel like we've seen this before. We saw this with Helen Gim. This kind of reminds me of the Helen Gim type of situation where you could get a lot of public publicity, right? But I don't necessarily know if in a race that's a three-way race that helps him, right? Because I do think that Dr. Ayla Stanford will still get some votes. The problem with Dr. Ayla Stanford is that I think she's going to be the spoil for him. I think, okay, you know what? I'm going to put the theory on the table right now. Anything can change, though. But what I'm looking at right now is I think Shreve Street's going to win. I think Shreve Street's going to win. I think that this is the type of situation where I think Rabb is just a weaker candidate. When it comes to Philadelphia, I think that as much as there's some national hype, you got to pay attention to who's not endorsing Chris Rabb. That tells me something. It's not about the who's endorsing him, it's the who's not endorsing him. And why? Why? There is a weird coalition that is not united with him, even in its own cabinet. And they're not going to speak on record. Some of them will not speak on record. But there are people that have showed up for Helen Gim that are not showing up for Chris Rabb right now. The coalitions are endorsing Rabb because they would. There is a very clear playbook where I'm not shocked by most of the endorsements that Chris Rabb has. It is the Working Families playbook, and he rides that. But I feel like there are people that I'm surprised have not come out and support him. And I'm not going to name their names because I do think that we don't know. Maybe they might turn around and I don't want to get messy. But I have not seen a certain level of support that he should be getting based on the playbook. And I've spoken to some people that have said they're not coming out for him because they don't like him. There's a Rabb issue. And the Rabb issue is not talking about the moderates. I ain't talking about the establishment Dems. We know that fucking script. But there is issues with Rabb's base of support. There are some issues with Rabb support. There are endorsements that Rab should be getting if Rab was in lockstep and key that he's not getting. It has nothing to do with the establishment, okay? There are just issues with Rab's voting record that is not in alignment with other progressives, even those in Harrisburg. And there's also issues that Rab has done in its own track record that does not align. I'll name one. Okay, I'll name one. And this is one that I thought was really weird, and this really stands out to me. Andre Carroll, black, openly gay state rep, is not endorsing Chris Rab. He's endorsing Sharif Street. When I looked at that record, I also recognized that, oh snap, Chris Rab did not endorse him. And I've noticed that Chris Rab has not endorsed a lot of people that he is now looking for support or would have liked support. Chris Rab has burnt bridges, and them bridges are coming back to burn him. And I think that that's going to speak to his ability to win, because he kind of came through like a tsunami, wanting to run, but he did not really patch up certain bad relationships. There are a lot of people who have told me on background that Rab is a pain in the ass, respectfully. Like, he's just a pain in the ass. And not necessarily a pain in the ass because of the fact that he's fighting for the working people. He's a pain in the ass because he's a purist. And he's also somebody who does not actually get along, not only with the establishment, but with his own coalition. He does not know how to be a team player, allegedly. He's selfish, allegedly. And he's a type of progressive that literally does not work with others in his coalition when it does not center him. He's salty. He's a gatekeeper. He's petty. And these are some of the things that I heard verbatim that was said to me by his colleagues. That there are people that like some aspects of him, but don't trust him. There are some people that said that he has been somebody that when it was time for him to show up for other folks, he did not, because he was on his own fucking pedestal. When he decided to run for Congress, he assumed that everybody was going to get in line for him, but he forgot that he left the door behind when it was their turn. He left a lot of folks in the dark when they ran, and now turns around and asks for that same support because he feels that he has a savior complex. They said he's a narcissist. They said he's selfish. They say that he makes it about him. They say he's an attention whore. The list goes on. And these are things being said by progressives. We're not even going to talk about what the establishment or what the Democrats or everybody else say. That is what fellow progressives have said about him. And guess what? The Working Family Party knows. And some of the people who have endorsed him knows. But they're falling in line because they think that he has a chance of winning, and they want that to happen. But there are people that are afraid that when he gets to Congress, he's going to be another squad. That is what I've heard. I've had conversations with Rab on my show. And there was one particular situation where I felt like how he answered my question, I was like, wow, ouch. That's kind of shady. Where he literally framed himself as being the only real progressive in a conversation that included Malcolm Kenyatta, included Andre Carroll and others. And he said he was the only real progressive. And I said, well, wow. Well, ouch. You that dude. Okay. Okay. But there is a very, yeah. I'm going to reserve some of my more thoughts. I don't want to make this the Chris Rab has a problem episode, but there are so many issues. And I think people need to have conversations with legislators about some of his record on certain bills. There are some bills that I just don't understand. We could talk about wage. We could talk about the Catholic Church matter. We could talk about protecting civilians and union workers, the way in which he did not want to support that. I've had these conversations with some of those bills he voted for on my show on the record. You can go back and listen to that interview. Rab is a purist, and I think that purists match a certain level of extremity in politics that I just feel like, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. I just think that he's just too polarizing. And I'm not saying that because he's a progressive. I don't know what type. He's a different type of progressive. I don't know. I just think that I think he's just so wrapped up in his own self that he can't see how sometimes the bills he vote for harms other people. The Liberty City Democrats did not endorse him. He talks about having queer family members and whatnot, and that's fine. But I also do believe that the way in which he goes about attacking certain folks, even his own coalition, I think is beneath him. And I don't think it's becoming for the next congressperson. And I struggle with that, with him. Doc Dayla Stanford, I don't know what's going on. Girl, you in danger, as they would say. I don't know what's going on with her campaign, because it has come out in so many different ways that she is getting funded by AIPAC. And she tries to distance herself, but she consistently finds herself in situations where she cannot articulate what her politics are and her stances are. I think the issue is that in several other interviews, I realized that she is saying a lot of strong talking points, but she doesn't even understand how government works. There was an interview that she did with NBC 10 recently where she talked about abolishing ICE. And there was questions about, well, if you want to abolish ICE, how does that work? She said that she wants to take the power from the executive branch. I'm sitting there looking like, do you know what that actually means? Do you actually know how government works? I mean, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I'm also kind of confused about the branches of government, because it's obvious that she doesn't have a clue what a congressperson does. You know what I mean? Like, it's really cringy that she's talking about abolishing ICE, but then she's a congressperson. I just understand where she was going with that, and then she needed a moment to take a pause to think about who do she think should be in charge of enforcing immigration laws, and she had to think about it, and it was weird, and it was awkward. And I had a moment where I was like, do you know what this job entails? So I don't know. I just have concerns about the super PAC money, her ability to articulate her positions and her legislation. It's getting really weird. And now it's become a national discussion. There's been a lot of national media voices that are now weighing in on some of the ways in which she does not want to use the word genocide, how she does not want to talk about it, or the ways that she do talk about it is very milquetoast or just not prepared. And it's hard to not see her as a shrill for pro-Israel lobby groups. I think the way that she talks and acts, it's hard not to see her as a shrill for them. Keep. I would say keep your day job. But this goes back to what I was saying earlier about Keith Harris. I just feel like with Dr. Stanford at this point, two things can be true. You could be a good physician, a good doctor, but you're not a good legislator, or would not be a good legislator, because she doesn't have a background in policy. I mean, her two major opponents, Shreve Street and Chris Rapp, they both have served in legislation. They've done that. She's never been a politician before, and it shows. But I also think she has played a lot into identity politics to try to justify why she should be taken seriously as the candidate. Because honestly, I don't have much to. I just don't feel like there's much to really consider. Respectfully, I don't really think she would be a good legislator. I don't think she knows what she's doing in this arena. I mean, the way in which she engages in these political debates, she takes them very personally. She cannot focus on a core issue. She has some strong stances. Some of this stuff aligns with her fellow opponents, but when it comes to concrete questions where people are asking for specifics, she seems to hit a wall. And this is serious, y'all. Like, this is serious. And I think the problem is with the population is that so many people are caught up in identity politics. Oh, we want to support this person. We can't afford to keep doing this, y'all. We're going to have to afford to vote for the person that knows what they're doing, has some maturity, has some thick skin, and I just don't see it. I don't see where her campaign. I don't. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. And I just feel like, drop out. I mean, if people really want to see a strong race, this race is between Chris Rapp and Shreve Street. In my opinion. Shreve Street, here's my thoughts. Here's my thoughts about Shreve Street. I think Shreve Street is the candidate right now that I think has a consensus. I think to write him off as just simply being a Democratic establishment pick does not speak to his voting history and the ways in which he has shown up in various communities, unlike a Democratic establishment pick would do. I think it says something when you have people like Rue Landau, Andre D. Carroll, and others endorsing him when people would have predicted they would endorse Chris Rabb. I think it says something that he isn't taking some of this major super PAC money that's coming from the likes of an APAC and other types of groups, and that is happening with Ayla, but not happening with him. I think it says something that he has been able to really avoid a lot of major nasty controversies with himself. Rabb has had some. Dr. Ayla Stanford has had some. He has kind of been the candidate that when I've asked people in my network, varieties of different people from different age groups, I have asked them, name your top two. In every single quote-unquote poll I've done, and I'm just talking from my own anecdote, everybody has either placed him at number one or number two. I have not heard one person in my network, and I have a wide network of different types of people, that have said to me that I cannot have Sharif Street in Congress. Now, I've heard people say, Ayla Stanford, because of the issue with the Middle Eastern stance on genocide and what's going on in Gaza, I have heard people say that she cannot get that seat. And I've heard people say, Chris Rabb cannot get that seat. Absolutely not. I have heard people say that. But I have not heard anyone say that they absolutely cannot have Sharif Street have that seat. Like most of the time, the people that really, really like Rabb do not like Ayla. They absolutely cannot have Ayla. They're like, I want Rabb, and I absolutely do not want Ayla Stanford. And then people that I know that support Ayla do not want Chris Rabb. They're like, I can absolutely not have Chris Rabb. He cannot have it. But the person that's caught in the middle is Street. The people who support Street want Street above everybody else. But I know people that say, listen, I'll support Street, but I don't want Rabb. I like Street, but I don't like Ayla. Like, I feel like he is the common one, the top two for people. And so in a race like Philadelphia, where it's very hyper-local and hyper-focused, in a race where there's three people, that tells me that he is the common pick. And there's a chance, a strong likelihood based on that logic, that I can see people going to the polls in fear. Because I see what happened with Rabb. I saw what happened with Helen Gim, where people were so scared that they either voted for Sherelle or they voted for Rebecca. And that is how someone like Helen Gim did not win. And I think that's going to be the same reality here. I think there's a case where people might say, you know what? I don't know about Rabb, but I definitely can't have Ayla. So they say, you know what? I'm going to vote for Sharif. Or I know some people that might say, you know what? I really do not. I kind of like Ayla, but I don't think Ayla has a chance because that Rabb is building up steam. All them Ayla votes might go to Sharif Street. And they might say, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't want Rabb to get it. So I got to go for who I think has the biggest shot. And that's where they went. They might go for Sharif. They will not believe in Ayla enough to give Ayla those votes, because if they really want Rabb not to get the seat, they might coalesce and go towards Street. And then Street got his own following, just alone. He's got a strong base of support, right? So I think that in many ways, if Dr. Ayla Stanford stays in this race, that spells good for Sharif, essentially. I think it benefits Sharif because I think that Ayla is not going to pull the type of votes. I think she's going to be that spoiler. I think that Helen was a spoiler for Rebecca Reinhardt. I think Rebecca Reinhardt could have beat Sherelle Parker if it was a 2-1 race. If it was between Rebecca and Sherelle, I think Rebecca would have won. I think Helen Gim was the spoiler because she just could not help herself. I think that's going to happen. I think Ayla's going to be the spoiler for Rabb. Because if the goal is to take out the quote-unquote establishment pick, that you don't do that when you got too many people on the polarizing end. That's how Sherelle Parker won. Sherelle Parker won because she was the lock-in. She was the lock-in. She was not similar. She's closer. I think the reality is she was the person that was able to step herself out. She had that she won that 3-way race. Because that was really a three-way race. That was Allen, Dom, all of them. They wasn't going to ever win. That was the race. And I see what's happening right now. Let's go back. Let's see what happens in mid-May. But remember this conversation. I feel like the math is mathing in my mind. I just think that Rab, when you look at that congressional district, if you really pay attention to Philadelphia voters and their patterns, stop looking in New York. We're not New York. We're not New York. We're not New York. The people that are excited about Rab are the people that's going to vote for Rab regardless. I don't see him converting people. Rab is so polarizing. This is the same Helen Gim playbook. Helen Gim was the same way. She brought in Bernie. She brought in AOC. She had all this momentum. But it was the same old people. You're not going to grow any new people. I don't see Rab building new coalitions. Ayla could have did it, okay? But I feel like Ayla is kind of like the Rebecca Reinhardt kind of. Like, she's that person where she could have had a fighting chance, but then she started. But see, unlike Rebecca, the issue with Ayla is that she's doing things that's alienating her base, but also is fueling the fire of Rab's base, which is now making those supporters, they're not going to go for Rab. Ayla voters are not going to vote for Rab. Ayla voters are either going to stay with her or they're going to go to Sharif Street. Sharif Street is playing it very, very smart. He's staying out of controversy. He's already got name recognition. He's already got the respect of various different groups. I feel like a lot of voters might get a little scared, and he's the safe pick. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them for that because he appears to be the most sane person out of the three of them, arguably. Like with Rab, I get that you can get excited for Rab. You can go, oh my goodness, Rab is going to blah, 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 blah. But then you can turn around and go, yeah, but then what else? What else? Razzle dazzle. But we need some shit. We need some money. And I just look at Rab's legislative history in the state house. What good did that come? What good did his presence bring in the state house for his district? Great. You got a rabble rouser. Wonderful. But what did it do? Because there are residents that are looking forward to Chris Johnson. There are residents that are looking forward to having a new state rep. I spoke to people in his district, and they are so happy that he's no longer the state rep because they feel like a lot of his drama has stopped them from getting funding and getting opportunities. That's what some residents have said. Not committee people, not ward leaders, but actual residents. And there are some residents who like him. There are some residents who do. But I do feel like he is a very polarizing candidate. And I can vote in that congressional race. I can vote. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to unpack here. So. So much. Now, the big conversation around school funding blew up this past week, and the conversation is going to continue to go. The biggest issue right now is that we're finding out new revelations. I've been having conversations on background with people from the school board, people from the school district, the park administration, city council members, and I've been trying to piece this puzzle together. But now the chickens have come home to roost, like again. And now I have a theory around what's been shaping this entire situation based on these conversations. Because now we got some updates. And these updates are making sense. So last week, I think I mentioned, if I have not, that there were 340 jobs that were supposed to be on the line based on what drove Mayor Parker to up the tax, the rideshare tax from 20 cents to $1 per ride. And what was the rationale was that she apparently found out in that week. So in the week, so when she first, did this at 20 cents after the budget hearing, apparently in the week between her changing it from a 20 cents to $1, she apparently spoke to the school district and she found out that their way in which they were planning to right size the school district, right, and make these budget cuts, that in that whole strategy, 340 positions were not going to be added. So there was 340 positions that they were not going to, hire jobs for as a result of this. And so this was not going to be layoffs, because there was a rhetoric earlier that was saying that there was going to be 340 jobs lost. And people thought that meant that 340 people were going to have their jobs cut and they were going to lose their jobs like a layoff. That was not what it was. There were 340 positions the school district had in their arsenal that they could hire for, and attrition and all the things. And they basically were committed to not rehiring those positions, which meant that there was going to be a lack of new workers in the school district. And that can impact various school districts, because people may have to be reassigned. There might be people that was going to have to go in different positions within the school district, but there was going to be an impact of sorts. Mayor Parker was not a fan of this and wanted to figure out what can she do to not only, keep the jobs on the table, but to ensure that the school district would have the power to hire those 340 positions that the district needed, in addition to what they already have. The school district was ready to cut those jobs and do what they got to do to right size the budget, but the mayor felt like she just could not do that under her watch. And so because of that, the school district, that she upped it from 20 cents to $1 so that would not have to be on the table. Here's the problem, right? The mayor is on that crusade. It's a savior complex. She wants to save the schools. This is her new issue. She cares about it, blah, 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 blah. That's all fine and dandy. The problem is that she underestimated how serious this was going to be when she decided to fight hard to push the $800 million home initiative that she proposed last year. So let's go back to last year. Last year, the school board and the school district had forecast and said that there was a major deficit in the school district. They had a massive deficit. Everybody knew that this was serious. They even said there were going to be school closings, okay? They announced that. They said it to the top of their lungs. We knew that school closings was coming last summer. They already said all this. They knew that they had to right-size the district in order to address this deficit. That was already spoken on. Councilmember at large Isaiah Thomas went on a whole rant throughout that budget process, talking about he doesn't understand how we can afford $800 million. Like, how can we afford this home initiative? He doesn't understand how that will work with all these other issues on the table. Like everything going on with the DC 33, how was we going to do that with the union contracts on the table? All of this was up for grabs. Council President Kenyatta Johnson made sure that Mayor Parker got what she wanted. He wrangled City Council into submission, and they voted for it, knowing damn well that they was not going to have that money to pay for it. Everybody wanted to figure out how would they be able to pay for it, right? So let's fast forward to this spring. The budget proposal gets proposed, and the mayor's way of paying for this is through taxes. She's got 3 taxes. And this is not only how she wants to address the school district, but address all these other issues that was up for conversation last budget season, right? So what she wants is that she wants a tax on hotels. She wants a tax on delivery services, right? The Amazon tax is what I call it. And she wants a tax on rideshare. That is now how she wants to do it. Now, according to the city controller, Philadelphians right now are paying around 16 different types of taxes and fees as of right now. If we get these 3 taxes enforced, that will now go up to 19, okay? 19 different tax and fees that we got to pay for because this mayor and this city and this administration does not know how to budget. So once again, we're going to have to foot the bill because they have these big ambitions that now we got to foot the bill on one way or the other. It's ridiculous, right? So now that we have these additional taxes being proposed, the mayor is now trying to act like she has no other choice but to enforce these taxes because her mind is that we got to save the schools. We got to save the schools. We had got to save the schools last year. You did not have to do $800 million for this home initiative. If you cared so much about the schools and funding things and doing it properly, why did you not in your budget do a better deal? Why did you, say, you know what, the home initiative thing, we can do this in a different type of way. We did not have to invest $800 million in home initiative. But that is something that she wanted to do because she needed a big white whale to assuage her from the shame that she had on how she dropped the ball on the 76ers arena. Because once again, she did not pay attention to the forecast. So because she didn't pay attention to the forecast, she once again had egg on her face because she literally believed developers while they went behind her back and worked out a deal with Comcast, and she did not know until they worked out the deal. So all that work that she did, all that lobbying with the building trades, all of that walking around promoting this arena in Center City, they were working behind your back to find a way to keep it in South Philly. Foolishness. And once again, Chinatown was about to be a sacrificial lamb for her to do that. So here she comes again last year, proposing $800 million for a home initiative, talking about giving people home affordability. And I saw her this week. I was at the church. I was at the Mount Airy Church of God in Christ. She got up there talking about home affordability. I was there with my fraternity brothers, so I did not ask her any questions. It was not that kind of arena. But she spoke. And she gets up there and she says, watch out for the people that's trying to pit the have-nots against the have-a-little. And she's making these shots. Jamie Gauthier, who's a city council member, was sitting in the front row. So she was making these shots. And she was talking about how she had to do this home initiative because she was talking about how there was so many people who worked for the city for all these years and worked a full-time job, but could not assess any of these programs to get a house. That they made just a little bit over what the requirement would be, so they couldn't get that type of home ownership assistance. So she was talking about how this initiative will level the playing field to give these employees more opportunity to get a home that they deserve. All that sounds cute. The problem is that if we were a city that actually cared about workers, full-time workers, hard workers, we should be giving them a livable wage, a livable salary, so that they would not have to be on government assistance programs to own a home. I think that it's a disgrace that there are people in the city of Philadelphia who have full-time jobs that work for this city and cannot be able to simply own a home without having to get into these social service programs. Because let's be very clear, those programs should be for people that are on the poverty line that are struggling. Why are people in Philadelphia with full-time city jobs struggling to pay ends meet? That's not a problem with the programs. That's a problem with our government and how we decide to fund jobs. So rather than actually do a better job at funding these jobs, you would rather fund government assistance programs than address the issue. So she's invested in funding better Band-Aids, but she's not trying to find the cure. The cure is within the system. The cure is within the wages. The cure is within that. But we can't do that because she's too busy robbing Peter to pay Paul. She won't do a tax abatement, right? She's doing a 10-year tax abatement. Cut that shit. But she wants to appease the developers. She will not address this police budget that's about to be $1 billion because, the cops. Nobody can critique the cops, okay? She will not challenge pilots and make eds and meds pay their fair share because I guess these corporations and groups fund her and she wants to get money and they pay her campaigns and whatever the case is, she won't touch them. So the only people that she keeps touching, that she claims she cares about, are working class people that have to get these damn taxes. So you keep taxing Philadelphians. We are paying more than our fair share. Why is no one else taking a cut? Why do our schools got to get closed? Why do everybody else got to sacrifice except, I don't know, developers, eds and meds, everybody else, right? Nobody else can pay their fair share in pilots. Nobody else, the back abatement. And let me give y'all a little hint on something. I'm going to give y'all an Ernestly Speaking exclusive. Remember this episode, because I'm going to tell you this shit right now. The mayor is most likely going to propose in the months to come, potentially, allegedly, a 20-year tax abatement for developers who are going to be interested in trying to turn these abandoned schools, these closed school buildings, into properties. You heard that right. A 20-year tax abatement is being floating around city council right now, a 20-year tax abatement for developers who are trying to specifically transform these abandoned school buildings. Y'all, they have lost their damn mind. But that is the plan. That's what I've heard allegedly. Remember this episode. Remember where you were when you heard me say this to you. That is coming on the table in the months to come. Because that is what she needs city council to do to appease these developers who are about to take up all these closed school buildings, and they need that 20-year tax abatement. A 20-year tax abatement. 20 years is on the table. Not the old school 10 years. They're going to do more than 10 years. It's on the table. It's being floated around. Stay woke. But again, everybody else has to take a hit. So city council says they're putting their foot down. There's been a lot of political theater over the past several days, in the past week. And I don't know how this is going to play out. I don't. I think there's a lot, right? So, for example, the school board has now postponed their vote on their facilities plan, their adjustment plan. This is the plan that is about what they're going to do next as far as school closings, because there are going to be some schools that's going to be closed, but the current plan is not that many. There's going to be a lot of schools closed. Apparently, the city council and the school district are trying to figure out what schools they going to keep. There will be some schools that will still close. They're not going to save all the schools. Let's be very clear about that. They're not going to be able to save all the schools. But there will be maybe some adjustments to align with everybody else and their needs. So we're going to see how this is going to play out. But I'm telling y'all right now, it's going to be better than what it is. We'll hopefully find out by next week, but stay woke on it. But all I got to say is that everybody involved in the situation knew what was coming, and there's a lot of people pointing fingers, and it's been hard to watch, but here we are. So that's that. This week's Ask Ernest, there's two parts. First of all, you all are asking me what did I think about this interview on 60 Minutes with Trump. Trump is trumping, you know. He's in denial, apparently, about the fact that he failed during the White House Correspondents' Ballroom. He is declared in his interview with Nora O'Donnell on 60 Minutes. He basically lashed out for reading the alleged gunman's manifesto. Apparently, the gunman has a manifesto, and there's a passage that references him as a pedophile. It does not directly mention Donald Trump's name. Trump said specifically, "I didn't rape anyone. I'm not a pedophile. You're a disgrace. You shouldn't be reading out 60 Minutes." Trump is snapping in this interview on 60 Minutes. But I mean, at a certain point, what do we expect? There's a lot going on with Trump in this 60 Minutes interview. I got a chance to watch it, and then, here we are, right? There's also another issue. A lot of people are asking me, what do I think about Don Lemon and his situation lately, his recent controversy? Don Lemon's controversy right now has been a lot because he recently is being accused of platforming Keith Edwards. If anybody know who Keith Edwards is, he is a known problem in politics. He is interviewing this man who is a conservative. He is a problem. A lot of people find him to be just a troll, homophobic, bigoted, and racist. And people are disgusted with the fact that Don Lemon would do an interview with Keith Edwards, given his history. And I mean, and in a way, I'm not surprised because Don has been always playing these games for quite some time. And here we are once again seeing him work across that aisle. But, Don Lemon is Don Lemoning. And it's very disgusting. Very disgusting because it's like, again, people doing the stuff that they're doing to advance their careers. Like, having you not learned anything? Like, you're going to interview this guy and do what? You think it's cute? You think it's provocative? I'm just disgusted. And then lastly, I have some thoughts about this, and you all asked about this. They said, people asked me, oh, what do I think about the Meg Thee Stallion, Klay Thompson breakup? Here's what I'm going to say about this. I'm a little annoyed, quite frankly, by let me start this off by first. Let me get this out the way. Um, it's unfortunate what happened to Meg Thee Stallion. I mean, she's going through a lot. Um, look, the relationship on the outside looked very good. So to hear that this man was cheating and he had a temper and all the things, that's very unfortunate. This woman has went through a lot, and it's unfortunate that she has to continue to have these very public, nasty breakups that didn't have her exes online showing their ass and being a jerk. It's just unfortunate, right? And it's fucked up. So by all means, my heart go out to her. Okay. Now, what's annoying to me, however, is that I just really am over the hyper obsession of celebrity relationships in general. Meg Thee Stallion is a grown ass woman, and the way in which everyone is getting involved in this relationship, whether they like her, don't like her, they're tagging him. I just don't like I just feel like there's so many more important things in the world that I don't really give a fuck about this like that. Like, I mean, look, relationships happen. People break up, people cheat, people do what they do. I just don't feel like to take up so much space on the news feed, going after him, getting in the middle of that. We don't know all the details of the situation. I'm not saying I don't believe her. I just feel like I just don't care enough to make this an issue where we all need to get involved. And I just really hate that a lot of prominent figures and voices are making this just such a conversation. Like, leave that man alone. Stop cyber harassing that man. Stop tagging him. Leave him the fuck alone. Look, they deal with what they deal with. She wanted to let everybody know what happened. That's her business. But I just feel like there's just so many more important things going on in the world that impacts our day-to-day lives. I just feel like celebrity culture, I mean, it's just like, I don't care as much. I'm not as invested. I mean, the world is just way more round, and there's just so much more happening that I just don't. I mean, there was a time, maybe before Trump got elected as president, where we could really just get lost in this type of shit, but I just feel like we can't afford to. I feel like if it was the Obama era, or maybe when Biden was in office, we had a little bit of a moment where we could play around a little bit. But Trump back in office, we don't have the ability to walk and chew gum at the same time anymore. I'm not going to waste neurons in my brain giving a fuck about this and wasting my energy and time unpacking this relationship. They were together for a year. Honestly, girl, take a break. Take a break. Relax. Take a break. Do you? I personally, as somebody who's been a fan of her, I've just wanted Meg to take a break for a long time. I just really feel like this constant publicity and attention, it just, it's just very fragile. I think she should take a break, heal, do the rest that she needs. I think all of the attention and spotlight, good, bad, in between, is just not this level of celebrity. Because when things are bad, they're really ugly. And I'm concerned about her mental health and her well-being. And I just feel like I would be okay with her saying, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to take me a break. I'm going to heal. I'm going to relax. Or you know what? I'm just going to focus on my career, my work, but I'm not really about to get too personal in my love life. I just feel like I would love for Meg to have some level of a break, because I feel like there's just way too much. And she's had a lot happen in her life over the past several years. And I just feel like everybody just, all this tagging, and it's like, what are y'all doing? I don't know. I'm just over it. Like, we're all adults, and I don't know. I'm just not so hyper fixated on celebrities in that way anymore. Like, especially when they're not consistently using your platform to discuss things that impact me. I'm good. I mean, Cardi B is investing way more energy and thoughts into things happening in my day-to-day life and well-being than some of these other folks. I'm selfish. I'm going to entertain celebrities that are actually advocating and saying more, in my opinion. I can't, not saying I can't listen to other people, whatever, I can, but I'm just a little bit more invested and other types of ways of celebrity and investment in my day to day. I appreciate people like Cardi B who use their platform consistently. Other people are just not doing that, and I'm just kind of over it, and I'm not going to give that much energy to some of this other stuff. So that's just my take on that. Moving on. So this Michael Jackson movie, I went to see it a second time. Mr. Johnson and I saw with my bestie Jamarcus. We saw it Friday. Um, I went to see it at 4:00, and most of that theater was packed. And I said, we thought going at 4:00 was going to avoid all the chaos. Oh no, baby! There were people in the room dancing, cutting up. They let him some Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson made $97 million at the box office. In the domestic box office, made 200 worldwide. It's already made how much the movie has costed. It's a smash hit. Now the critics have been panning it, as they should to some extent. There's been different conversations about the film, and after seeing it a second time, and remember I told y'all last week when I first saw the sneak peek of it, I had different thoughts, but I think I feel like watching it again, I can say that Domingo Coleman did his big one. I appreciate Jafar Jackson, as Michael. I think next to Miles Frost in the Broadway edition of Michael Jackson the musical, I think it's a very great performance for an actor, like for someone like him who hasn't really acted before, but he does a really good job. I really watched it again, and I really appreciated his devotion to the role, and I do think that there could be a Golden Globe nomination for him in the future. Oscar nomination, I don't know about that. But definitely Golden Globe for sure. I think he does do a good job, and I can appreciate it more. Um, but that being said, rewatching it and hearing about some of the controversy, when I watched it the second time, I recognized that this movie, if there was not so much legal edits and things, could have been better. And I can tell that there were a lot of dry hinting in the film that was leading to something bigger, but never landed. And it's important to note that this film is from 1966 to 1988. So when people keep talking about they want to address the molestation allegations, that stuff doesn't really happen until 93, right? So they did a good job, and I'm not saying this as an actual like praise, but they do a very sublime job of like limiting the full effect. Like, this is not a biopic. This is a movie that really is a love letter to Michael in the ways in which people want to see Michael, how his stands. This movie really is for the stands. There is not really anything we learn different about him. And even the way that they are so safe, even with the material, like I can now say that even with what they did have from 1966 to 1988 was so sanitized to the point where, okay, you don't want to talk about the molestation allegations, and legally they can't talk about some of those incidents because there are some details in court settlements that said that some of the victims had requested not to be depicted or characterized in films or other material. So a lot of that couldn't even be used. I get that. But even with the material they did have, I just felt like the storyline was just so flat, so basic, so predictable. There was not that much nuance between the dynamic between him and his father, which has been overplayed out in so many films and readjustments and adaptations. I just, yeah. I don't know what to make of it. There's speculation there's going to be this Michael Jackson, the second one is going to come. There's been no confirmation of that, y'all. I have to say that for the record. We don't know if there will be a second one. And given the legal hurdles that this film has had, we don't even know if there can even be a second version. And if they do, I don't know how they'll find a way to skip over and not address it or talk about it. So it's just a clusterfuck. And the family estate is got their hands too much into it. This reminds me of the Prince estate, where they don't want to do much on Prince at all without them trying to curate it. And it's almost like, well, we're just never going to get that history. And I just struggle with this. I think in some ways, I thought about this since I watched it, is that what if they would have just did a film that wasn't about him, but like a film that was inspired by the dynamic? Because I thought about the movie Hail Mary, right? I have a theory that if those who watched it with Anne Hathaway, maybe you didn't because a lot of people have not seen the movie, but I have a theory that Hail Mary is about Gaga and Lori Ann's relationship. The Lori Ann Gibson, who was the choreographer for Gaga, who then went away. Lori Ann Gibson was on Making the Band. She was the pop, pop, boom, her. I think this movie is about their relationship, their dynamic. Now, the Hail Mary movie had a lesbian undertone. I don't know if that is the case for Lori Ann and Lady Gaga, but that Lori Ann and Gaga had this very strong chemistry in the beginning of her career, and it kind of went away. And we never really got to the bottom of why exactly, but I sense that this Hail Mary film is playing into some of that. I don't know. But the movie, I think the director tries not to say Gaga because I think he's trying to hide, maybe the likability clause. Like maybe he's like saying Taylor Swift. There's no Taylor Swift in this character. This character is giving Madonna, is giving Gaga. I don't see Taylor Swift in this role, but I digress. I'm looking forward to The Devil Wears Prada 2. I am excited. I cannot say anything about the film, but I will be seeing it again. I'll be seeing it with the Lit Brothers later this week, and I look forward to giving you all my full-throated review. But I am excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. It does not disappoint. I'll leave it at that. So with music, there's been a lot of music. Music is coming, right? But there's some anniversaries. This past week was the 10th anniversary of Lemonade. People asked me, did I think the album aged well? I think it aged fine. I'm not going to say it aged well. I will say Lemonade is an album that I don't listen to that often anymore. Not to say because it wasn't good. I just think that it's a capstone in time. And I don't really, given Beyonce's life now, I don't know if the album ages well as a body of work within her life. I think it ages well as a body of work in music, its influence. But I do kind of feel like it's really hard to listen to that album and then find out like 10 years later she's going to still be with this billionaire man and she's going to be having dinner with the Kushners and her life is going to... Yeah, I just somewhat feel like I struggle with the album, quite frankly, about how to place it in the conversation of her discography. I think as a body of work outside of her personal life, even though it was such a personal album, it, in one sense, as an art form, it ages well in the art form space of music. But as Beyonce's personal journey and what we know of her, I don't think it has aged that well. Because what the progression of who she would become and how it will play out later in her life, I think her life now is a regression to what that album was trying to suggest about her future. In my opinion. But the album is a classic, it's a masterpiece, and it will forever be one of the most important albums of the 21st century, nonetheless. We have entered the 25th anniversary of Survivor. 25 years of Survivor. Yeah, that was the big Destiny Child album, DC3. That was the big, huge breakout DC3 album. How did it age? I think it aged fine. I don't want to say it aged well. I think that it aged fine. I mean, I think that there's elements of that album that is still inspiring the girls today. I don't think you can get a flow album without a Survivor. I think the harmonies, the ways in which those girls on that Survivor album, played around with R&B songs and pop and all the things, it's great. Now, I prefer Destiny Fulfilled. I think Destiny Fulfilled is my all-time favorite Destiny Child album with DC3. I prefer Destiny Fulfilled over Survivor, but I appreciate Survivor. I think Survivor was a great, mainstream breakthrough album. But personally, I definitely do feel like there's a lot here. You know, and I think that that is there, yeah, yeah. I think, there's a lot to be said about that album, but it's fine. My pop music, because I got thoughts about pop music, okay? And I think, there's a lot to be said in this pop world that we're in. I Feel So Free by Madonna. I've been blasting that shit all week. That is the new single that's about to be on the Confessions Part 2 album. And I love that song. It is probably the best Madonna single we've gotten in a decade. Maybe longer, even longer than a decade. But this is I love I Feel So Free. I've been playing that shit. It's 5 minutes long and it is a bop. It is a bop. And if this is where we're going with Confessions Part 2, girl, keep it going. I am hooked. I love it. I love it. Mother is back. Mother is back. Okay? And she has come back to restore. So yeah, I love the song. A single I really wasn't feeling, and I've listened to it, and I'm not really excited about it. Drop Dead by Olivia Rodrigo. I'm underwhelmed. Talk about a lead single that was underwhelming. You drop Guts, right? Her last album with Vampire, and Vampire, talk about a knockout. It's one of my favorite Olivia Rodrigo songs. I feel like Vampire might be my favorite Olivia Rodrigo song. Love that song, right? Drop Dead is not a bad song. It's just a very blah song. It doesn't say anything about anything. It sounds like everything on the radio. And I just was underwhelmed. I was just like, okay. I don't know. It's just blast. It's a bunch of music, a bunch of noise. You know. I didn't I was just kind of like, this is what this is what you're doing. You're coming in with a song like that's what that iconic ass album cover, and this is what you're giving us. I was just underwhelmed. I didn't I was like, where's the songwriting? I just didn't feel like it was saying anything. I was just very underwhelmed. I just was. I was like, that's it. So I don't know. I'm not really feeling this new lead single by her. And I've heard a lot of fans have been asking for more from her, and she's just not delivering it. Um, yeah, yeah. You know, yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know. But I just nah. I'm good. I'm good. Um, Kalani's new album, because y'all want to go there with me too. Y'all want to know. I was also underwhelmed by this album. Now, I'm gonna say this. It's not a bad album. I just be like, Kalani, girl. Like, I don't know. I think as a whole body of album, I just kind of felt like I like Kalani. I can appreciate her music. I don't know. After a song like Folded, I just thought it was gonna bring a little bit more, you know. It's not a bad album. I just was a little underwhelmed. I was underwhelmed. I don't know. Maybe I just was drinking the Kool-Aid and got high expectations. I mean, it was okay. It was all right. I don't I think maybe off the high of Folded, I just really got excited, a little bit more excited than I would have imagined. Um, and I think that that's what kind of got me a little, in my feels. But it's all right. It's not the worst album. It's not the best album. I just kind of feel like, yeah. Um, Moving on to TV. The season finale, Abbott Elementary. Oh my goodness, what a season! I know a lot of people are not really watching these shows like they used to. I mean, Abbott Elementary got renewed for another season, of course, but I just wish more people could. If you have not been watching Abbott Elementary, can y'all go back and watch it for me? Like, please, please, pretty, please. Um, you know, because this show is just so good TV, and it's getting so good, so rich, so nuanced. I love it. Um, I don't know if you heard the news, but my girl Jocelyn Hernandez is leaving Zeus. Oh, Zeus Network. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing, Jocelyn? What is going on? We're probably not going to have any more Jocelyn's Cabaret. Jocelyn, once again, is falling out. Allegations towards Lemmy. All these allegations. The girls are fighting on the internet. There's drama going on. And I don't know how it's going to play out, but my goodness, Zeus Network, y'all stay with the heat and the drama. But Scotty with with the baby, that show was cute. It's a mess, but it's good TV. I can't hold y'all. I mean, I'm conflicted, but we're not going to probably have any more Jocelyn's Cabaret. I don't know how I feel about that. My good friend Joe said he got a crisp $20 bill a month for whatever she goes, what platform she goes on. But I'm tired. Can we all work? I'm tired of going to all these platforms. Can y'all figure this shit out? Cause it's just too much greed for me. Too much greed. Figure it out. Figure it the fuck out. Cause y'all making me go through it. I'm getting tired. I'm getting tight. Figure this shit out. I digress. All right. This upcoming week is going to be a lot. Okay. We have what's going to go down with these budget hearings coming up. We got The Devil Wears Prada 2, which is going to be a hit. I'm looking forward to it. I got my CCP graduation. This is going to be my second consecutive CCP commencement that I'm going to as a professor. That's going to be this weekend, okay? And there might be some other surprises, okay? There might be some other surprises. I gotta, fingers crossed, y'all. Wish me luck. I might got some surprises for y'all because we're gonna see. But stay glued to my Instagram, okay? Stay glued to my social media, okay? Because anything can drop, anything can go down. I'm just telling y'all there might be an April surprise. I might have y'all gagged and gooped. So y'all need to stay tuned, stay woke, stay alert, because anything can happen between now and this next episode. That's all I'm going to say. That's how I'm going to leave it. And as always, be well and be best.
Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.